Okay, so first of all, what is this total probability rule? Let's try to understand that. So basically, we have discussed various types of events, right? Like some may be dependent on each other, some may be independent, right? If they are dependent, we can calculate conditional probabilities. Now, total probability is a rule that we intend to follow when we have the intent to calculate unconditional probabilities. Okay. When we have the intent to calculate the unconditional probabilities, then we use total probability rule. Okay. Now, how is it useful? Let's say,
Ma'am, I could not hear you.
sorry,
I could not hear you.
Acha. What about others? Were you able to hear me, or is there some
Ma'am, I
problem?
think it was my network. It was my network.
Acha. Okay.
That's
I
why I
was
could
just
not hear
talking
you.
about that we use total probability rule in order to find out the unconditional probability of an event. Like, for example, you know, let's say if you're talking about India winning the match, and we are taking two conditions on which it is dependent upon. One condition that we are considering is that whether it will rain or not rain. Okay, rain or not rain condition we are considering. Now, in case we find out the probability of India winning the match given that it rained, and probability of India winning the match when it is given that it did not rain. Okay, so two probabilities we have calculated. One probability of India winning the match when it rained. The other is probability of India winning the match when it did not rain. Now these are conditional probabilities. Probability of India winning or not winning based upon condition. Condition A being rain condition, condition B being not rain condition, right? But what if we want to know the probability of India winning only, irrespective of whether it rained or did not rain? If we want to know the probability of India winning the match, irrespective of whether it rained or not, we will have to calculate these conditional probabilities and add them up, because let's assume that these are the only two conditions which can happen and influence the probability of India winning the match, right? So we took these two probability sets with us, we added them up. What will we get? We will get the probability of India winning the match irrespective of whether it rains or does not rain. So what did we do? We calculated the respective conditional probabilities and added them up. And therefore, this rule is referred to as the total probability rule, because here we have to calculate the total, the sum of the respective conditional probabilities we have to do in order to calculate the unconditional probability of an event, which in our example was India winning the match. Okay.
Ma'am, so essentially,
Yes.
if we like have to calculate the probability of India winning the match, given it is it rained, right? That this is how we have to calculate that conditional probability, right?
Given that it rained is it's a condition in itself, so it's a conditional probability. There are two things. India winning the match when it rained or India winning the match, that's it, irrespective of whether it rained or not. So when we are calculating the total probability of an event, irrespective of the conditions, then we use the total probability rule. Let's take another example here, okay, to solve this total probability rule with the help
Ma'am,
of an example.
just a thought. Please, could you take one example with numbers?
Yeah, that's what I said, that
Ah,
I'm going to take an example. That's what I said. That now we will be taking an example to do this thing. Okay, so let's take this example. I think this example I took in the last class. मुझे तो याद आ रहा है टोटल प्रोबेबिलिटी रूल हमने कवर कर लिया है लास्ट क्लास में.
Odds one we have odds and even.
Odds and even. This is an example. This is about EPS being positive next year.
Then we did a
EPS
sum
being.
of Bank of England also, I guess.
I think total probability rule is something that we have discussed in the last class.
Thoda kya hai, ma'am? Like we didn't go to the PPT. You were just explaining.
Acha. Chalo, there is only one thing with respect to the PPT. I'm not too sure whether we took this example in the class or not. Nevertheless, let's take it up because I don't remember whether we took it or not. So let's first take this example in order to calculate. Okay. What is the question here? I think ये question हमने कर लिया. एक ही question दिया हुआ है आपकी PPT में. And as far as I can remember this question, let me share my screen with you. This question, I think we discussed in the
Ma'am,
last
that
class.
Bancorp one.
This one.
Yeah, ma'am, we have discussed 0.63,
Yeah.
I guess, is the answer. No?
Yes. So I think this question has been discussed. And
Yeah,
under
ma'am.
total probability rule, we just have this question and we have the concept. So concept तो मैंने दोबारा repeat कर ही दिया है. But this question I'm not repeating. अगर आपको याद नहीं है या आपने miss की थी class तो आप last class pick up कर सकते हो. We have already discussed the question there. ठीक है? So I'll save some time of the class and not repeat the question we've already discussed in the class. And let's move forward with our next concept here. Okay. As far as practice is concerned, I know we will incorporate practice into our sessions. Don't worry. Okay. Let's first complete the whole chapter and then we can look into. Let me see if I have a few examples ready for it. I will take those. Otherwise, we can take it later also. अच्छा, economic growth वाला question किया था आपके साथ मैंने. An analyst estimates that the share price has an 80% probability of increasing if economic growth exceeds 3%, something like this. ये किया था हमने.
I don't
This
think so, ma'am. नहीं किया
this
ये
था.
भी कर लिया
question
था.
is based on the total probability rule only. The question that you were explaining.
I know that, but did we discuss it in the class?
No, ma'am, नहीं किया था last class.
अच्छा, ठीक है. So let's practice this question. Okay. This is based upon the same concept. Since we've covered the PPT question in the last class, let's take this extra question to just focus upon this concept a little more. Okay, so this is the question. What do we have here? We have that an analyst estimates the share price has a 80% probability 80% probability of increasing if the economic growth exceeds 3%, a 40% probability of increasing if the economic growth is positive but less than 3%, a 10% probability of increasing if the economic growth is negative. If the economic growth has a 25% probability of exceeding 3%, 25% probability of being negative, and then what is the probability that the share price will increase? Okay, I'm giving you 1 minute or something like that. Just reflect upon this question and try solving it. Okay, then I will discuss the solution. Okay, but first I want to see if there is somebody who can solve it on their own, since we've already discussed the concept. Okay, so any luck, anybody? See, first of all, we have 3 conditions in which you have to divide your whole situation, and then based upon 3 conditions, there is some probability of share price going up. Okay, so we can prepare a tree here, right? 3 conditions. Okay. One is economic growth greater than 3%. The other is economic growth less than 3%. And third condition is that the economic growth is less than 0. That is, it is negative, right? These are the 3 conditions that we are dealing with. Now, if the economic growth is greater than 3%, there is a 40% probability of the share price going up. Okay. If it's less than 3%, the probability of the share price going up is 10%. Okay. Unless the share price is 80%, sorry, 80% probability of increasing if the economic growth exceeds 3%, a 40% probability if the economic growth is positive but less than 3%, it's 10%. Okay, but how is it so? Okay, 80% probability of increasing if the economic growth exceeds 3%, 40% probability of increasing if the economic growth is positive or less than 10%. ठीक है, ये दिया हुआ तो ये लेते हैं. Okay, so if the economic growth has a 25%, abhi economic growth is greater than 3%, इसकी probability कितनी है? 25% है. If the economic growth is less than 3% but positive, उसकी probability कितनी है? 50% है. Then what is the probability of the economic growth being negative? What should be the probability of economic growth being negative if the probability of it exceeding 3% is 25%, less than 3% but greater than 0 is 25%? What should be the probability of economic growth being negative?
And 25% is given.
Yeah, it's given 25% probability of being negative.
अच्छा, तो कौन सी नहीं दी हुई है? If the economic growth has a 25% of exceeding 3% and 25% probability of being negative, ठीक है, तो
Between
middle
0
one
to
is not
3.
given. Okay, fine.
Between 0 to 3 is not given.
Okay, so this one is not given. So what would that be? The missing one. If this is 25%, this is 25%, what is the probability of the economic growth being between 0 and 3? It should be
50%.
50%. Okay, because that is the only other option left. These are exhaustive events, right? So this is what we have, and this is the respective probability of stock price going up. Okay, now we want to know what is the probability of the share price going up. So
Now
this
वो
is an
80% भी 50% होना चाहिए मेरे ख्याल से.
why ये तो 80% लिखा है.
But composite 1 होना चाहिए ना, तो composite 1 से तो ज़्यादा ही हो जाएगा.
Composite 1, that is what I was also checking कि 1 से ऊपर क्यों आ रहा है 80 plus 40 plus 10. That is what I was also checking, but share price has an 80, but because these are dependent events, these are dependent upon certain other conditions, so इस वजह से maybe the overall probability is coming out to be greater than 100%. Let me verify it. हाँ, that is simply because of it, because ये 80 plus 40 plus 10 को हम ऐसे count कर ही नहीं सकते, because these are dependent upon certain other conditions. So after taking into consideration those conditions, final probability should not exceed 1. Okay. Abhi, what we want to know is that what is the probability of the share price going up irrespective of whether the economy grows by more than 3%. It's just simply positive or it's less than 0. We want to know what is the probability of share price going up. Okay. So now what we'll do is we'll first of all take the average here. Okay. How? This is what we have and this is what we have. These are dependent events. So we would have to multiply the dependent events to get the joint probability as discussed in the last class. So 25% into 80% plus 50% into 40% plus 25% into 10% will give us the probability of the share price going up irrespective of any condition. Okay. When we calculate the joint probabilities, we are calculating it based upon condition. When we simply have all the conditions and their respective probabilities accounted for and we add them all, we'll get the total probability of that event happening. So once you do the maths, what do you get?
Ma'am, I just have a question. They say in the
Yeah.
starting of the question, it was written 80% is the probability if economic growth is more than
80% probability of the share price going up if the
up
that
if
means
economic growth is more than 3%,
if
right?
that means if the economy is growing by more than 3%, there's a 80% probability that the share price will go up,
Go up
and there is a
80%.
20% probability of the share price going down, even if the economic growth has exceeded 3%. That is what that statement says.
Okay. But then my only question is why it's multiply 80 and 25. Even 25,
We have multiplied 25 with 80
yeah, why? Because 25% in the
because first
question,
of all we have to see what is the probability of economy growing by 3%. So the probability of the economy growing more than 3% is 25%. So we account for that thing first, that event happening. And first of all, that event has to happen. And what is the probability of that event happening? 25%. Then we have to consider, if that event has happened, what is the probability of share price going up? That is
okay,
80%.
understood.
So once we total it up, what do we get? Everyone, are we getting 42.5? Answer to sab log de.
Yes.
I want everyone to switch on their cameras also. Please participate in the class. ऐसे तो आप सो जाओगे क्लास में. 4 घंटे की क्लास है. 4 घंटे आप, मैं कोई कंप्यूटर से थोड़ा ना बात करने के लिए यहाँ पे बैठी हूँ. I'm talking to live people. फिर लाइव क्लास का फायदा क्या है? अगर आपने इतना पैसिव अप्रोच लेना है तो वीडियो क्लासेस ले लेते. क्या फायदा है लाइव क्लास का? फिर ना आपने इंटरेक्ट करना है, ना आपने आंसर देना है, ना आपने क्वेश्चन पूछना है, ना आपने कैमरा ऑन करना है, ना आपने कुछ डिस्कस करना है, तो फायदा क्या है फिर? पता नहीं क्या प्रॉब्लम होती है भाई कैमरा ऑन करने में. व्हाट्स द बिग डील इन इट? व्हाई डू आई हैव टू रिमाइंड इट? जब तक मैं बोलूं दिक्कत तो नहीं कोई. व्हाट्स द बिग डील इन इट? Okay, so when we do the maths, we should get 42.5%. Are we getting 42.5%, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry?
Yes, ma'am. 42.5.
Okay, fine. So there is a 42.5% probability of share price increasing irrespective of whether the economy grows by more than 3%, positive or negative. Okay. So that is what total probability rule does for us. It tells us the total probability of a certain event happening irrespective of any conditions. Okay, so that is one point. Now let's move forward to our next segment. So basically we have three more segments with respect to this chapter. Okay, one will be about our mean and variance, calculating mean and variance when we have the probability angle. Okay, so let me remove this stuff. Okay, now let's move to our next thing, that is basically about calculation of return and risk when we have probability concept included. Okay, now basically as a measure of return, as a measure of average return, we usually have a tendency to calculate mean or average, right? What is simple average? It's simply about, let's say for example, there is an investor who is investing, and we know that investing, trading, it's a business, and therefore it cannot have the same return every single week or every single month. Some weeks can be really good, some weeks can be really bad. So we want to understand and know what is the average return. On an average, how much returns we are able to generate, or on an average, same applies to risk also. On an average, what is the risk around this investment or trade, and on an average, what is the return that we are expecting to get. Okay, so when we have respective probabilities also given to us, we are able to calculate these returns and risk with a probability angle, because as said before, investing, trading, or for that matter anything you do in life is ultimately a game of probability. Okay, let's say let's take an example of yours, okay, which maybe you can relate to. So all of you are planning for your CFA exams, right? All of you are planning for your CFA exams, and I'm sure all of us want to clear our exam in our first attempt, right? कोई है जो second attempt में clear करना चाहता है? Anybody?
No one.
No, right? We all want to clear it in our first attempt. ठीक है, आप फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट में क्लियर कर पाते हो नहीं कर पाते हो, is it a gamble, is it pure luck, or is it a probability? It's a probability.
Probability.
Yeah, it's a probability, right? So what is it dependent upon? It's क्या किस पे डिपेंड करता है, आप पास कर पाओगे फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट में या नहीं कर पाओगे?
Practice, hard work.
Number of hours you give. Practice.
Okay, okay, we can say your efforts.
हाँ.
जितने आप एफर्ट्स डाल सकते हो उतने कम है, ठीक है ना? तो जितने हम एफर्ट्स डालेंगे कॉन्सेप्ट समझने में, रिवाइज करने में, प्रैक्टिस करने में, उसको मास्टर करने में, उतना हमारा प्रोबेबिलिटी इंक्रीज हो रहा है, राइट? 100% गारंटी तो किसी चीज की नहीं होती लाइफ में, बट एक होता है कि हम अपने एफर्ट से प्रोबेबिलिटी अपनी सक्सेस की बढ़ाते जाते हैं, ठीक है ना? तो अब let's assuming that you guys are putting in a lot of effort into your preparation. Okay, now we want to know what is the possibility of you passing the exam. 100% हम कभी भी नहीं बोल सकते, हम बेसिकली क्या बोल सकते हैं, probability है. So let's say if you put in 100%, नहीं, अच्छा चलो एक काम करते हैं, आपके पास फेल होने की वैसे नॉर्मल सिनेरियो में 50-50 प्रोबेबिलिटी है, ठीक है, 50-50 चांस तो हर एक का है ना, बिकॉज देर आर ओनली 2 पॉसिबिलिटीज, आइदर यू विल पास और यू विल फेल, कोई थर्ड पॉसिबिलिटी तो है नहीं, तो 50-50 चांस है। अब इस 50-50 चांस को हम क्या कर रहे हैं, हम इंक्रीज कर रहे हैं विद रिस्पेक्ट टू आवर एफर्ट्स, ठीक है। तो ये पास करने के चांस है, ये फेल करने के चांस है। जैसे जैसे आपके एफर्ट होते जाएंगे, लेट्स से आप 70% पे 80% पे आ गए, तो ऑटोमेटिकली आपके फेलियर के चांसेस कम होते जाएंगे, सिर्फ 20-30% रह जाएगा। इसको भी हम इम्प्रूव करके 90% पे लेके आ सकते हैं, ठीक है। तो अल्टीमेटली बाय या
बट जब CFA प्रोग्राम 20% की पासिंग रेट रखता है, तो फिर वो कंडीशनल प्रोबेबिलिटी लग जाएगी उसमें 0.5 into 0.20.
well, technically yes. I was hoping that somebody will bring that point up, and the person who will bring it up and will be able to understood total probability rule well. Okay, ठीक है।
Technically, we just have a 10% probability of clearing it.
10% probability of clearing it, ये कैसे निकाल दिया आपने?
It would be like 0.5 into 0.20, right? So it would be 0.1.
0.20 क्यों मल्टीप्लाई कर रहे हो आप? आपने एफर्ट्स किया, आपने अपनी 90% प्रोबेबिलिटी पे ले आए, ठीक है, इनटू 25% people are passing. So assuming, given the condition that 25% people pass, your chances of passing are 90%, you multiply the two to get your probability of passing, right? Okay, but we cannot focus upon this, at least for mathematical purpose, for practice purpose, yes we can, but otherwise अगर हम प्रैक्टिकली बात करें आपकी प्रिपरेशन पर्सपेक्टिव से, तो वी शुड नॉट वेस्ट आवर एनर्जीज फोकसिंग अपॉन दिस, वी शुड rather apply all our energies and utilize all our energies on this, because this is something we can control, this is something we can't control. So we focus upon this thing, then we are just wasting our energies on something we can't control, because of which we will reduce this, ठीक है। अगर हम यहाँ फोकस करते रहेंगे ना, तो आपका ये भी गिर के फिर से 50% पे आ जाएगा, ठीक है। चलो अभी आगे बढ़ते हैं। ये था आपके पास फेल पे हमने प्रोबेबिलिटीज अप्लाई करी, एंड हाउ वी कैन इंक्रीज द प्रोबेबिलिटी बाय इंक्रीजिंग एफर्ट्स। अभी इसी को लेट्स कंसिडर द सिमिलर थिंग विद रिस्पेक्ट टू सम नंबर्स एंड सम इन्वेस्टमेंट गेम। यहाँ पर नंबर्स आइडेंटिफाई नहीं कर सकते थे बिकॉज इट वाज पास फेल थे, but with respect to investment performance we can associate numbers. Okay, let's say for example, I'll just switch this sheet now. Let's say for example, we are looking at some traders returns, okay. So let's say we are considering 6 months performance of a trader. Okay, these are months. Now let's say in the first month, I mean he or she is a trader, okay. It's not that it's first month of trading, but first month of our data, okay. So let's say for the first month, for we are recording our data, the trader made a loss of 5%, okay. Second month the trader was able to make 15%. Third month another loss came in for -8%. In the fourth month, that trader was able to make 10%, then 5%, and then 20%. So these type of variabilities can be there, because ultimately it's a business, right? And in a business there cannot be fixed rate of return, because things are dependent upon how the environment is moving. Okay, sometimes the market can be very easy to trade. Sometimes it can be a little tricky. Okay, so the results can be fluctuating, but we want to conclude whether this person is a good performer or not, right? So for that, we want to know what are the respective probabilities of these results happening. Okay, बहुत सारे ways हो सकते हैं इस चीज को average out करने के लिए. ठीक है, 3 ways के बारे में बात करेंगे हम. First way would be just to simple average निकाल ले. ठीक है, आप इसका simple average निकालोगे तो क्या करोगे? -5% plus 15% minus 8% plus 10% plus 5% plus 20% divided by 6 करते हो कितना आता है आपका?
Ma'am, which screen are you sharing? Because I can only see the LOS expected value wala screen.
Expected. Oh, okay. I'm talking about this screen. I did not know that.
Oh, yeah, because I was getting confused. I cannot see the screen.
Oh, okay. I thought that this was the visible screen, but okay. So I was actually writing stuff on the screen only while I was talking to you. अच्छा, चलो.
इसके पहले आपने कुछ लिखा था?
उससे पहले बस वही जो मैं आपके
अच्छा.
साथ CFA वाला एग्जांपल डिस्कस कर रही थी वही मैंने लिखा था. Okay, so now if we have to calculate the simple average of these numbers, can we do it? What is the simple average of these numbers?
Minus 9.66.
Minus 9.66. Okay. Can anybody verify also? Is everyone getting the same result? Well, it should be like we take 15 plus 10 plus 5 plus 20.
0.03167.
Okay. Let me calculate. 15 plus 10 plus 5 plus 20 minus 8 minus 5 comes out to be 37.
6.1, 6.2% के आसपास आएगा. एक simple average.
हाँ, 6.2%. 6.2% आएगा. We just have to add them up. इन सबको आप add करते हो and you're divided
Second
by
वाला
6.
-5 है कि +5?
First is -5 and third is -8. Rest everything is positive. आप इसको add करके divided by 6 करोगे तो 6.2 आना चाहिए. Are we getting 6.2 everyone?
Yeah, ma'am. Initially you told minus 15. I wrote it down. So उसके लिए अलग आंसर आया.
अच्छा, नहीं, it's positive only.
So I took here a minus 15.
अच्छा, I don't know.
अलग आंसर
This is a. अच्छा, okay, चलो 6.2 we are getting, right? So this 6.2 tells us about our average performance. Okay, but there are so many other factors also. This was about just a simple average. This is not wrong also. It's perfectly fine. But we can, do other things with it as well. Like for example, one can be a weighted average. Because it can be that we have invested different amounts every month. In some months we were heavily invested, in some months we were less invested. Like let's say in the initial time, in first and third month, when we were not sure of the market condition, we invested lightly. And when we were sure, very sure, like in the second or sixth month, we invested heavily. that can actually have the power to give us a lot more than 6.2%. Getting my point? जिन मंथ्स में आपका अच्छा रिजल्ट रहता है उसमें अगर आप ज्यादा इन्वेस्ट करते हो वर्सेस जिन मंथ्स में आपको लॉसेस हो रहा आपने कम इन्वेस्ट किया था, तो अगर वेटेड एवरेज निकालोगे तो दैट विल एक्सीड द सिंपल एवरेज दैट वी हैव कैलकुलेटेड. डू यू वांट टू कैलकुलेट वेटेड एवरेज आल्सो? करना है वेटेड एवरेज?
Let's try. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So let's say in the first month our weight, which is basically weight कैसे निकलता है? वेट निकलता है जितना हमने इन्वेस्टमेंट किया था इस मंथ में अपॉन जितना टोटल इन्वेस्टमेंट हमारे पास है. लेट्स से इफ वी हैव 10 lakh in total to invest, in the first month we invested only 2 lakh. ओके इसको आप मंथ वाइज भी ले सकते हो या ये सिक्योरिटीज भी कंसिडर कर सकते हो. एनीथिंग कि आपने 6 सिक्योरिटीज में इन्वेस्ट किया, ठीक है, जो भी आपको ज्यादा कंफर्टेबल लगे. वेट पर्सपेक्टिव से आई थिंक सिक्योरिटीज वाला आपको ज्यादा क्लैरिटी देगा. तो अगर हम सिक्योरिटीज कंसिडर करें दैट वी हैड 6 सिक्योरिटीज, ठीक है, एंड दीज आर द रिजल्ट्स दैट दीज सिक्योरिटीज गिव अस, and we had invested differently into these securities based upon our conviction in them. ठीक है, let's say in the first security we did not have a lot of conviction, because of which let's say हमने उसमें अपना portfolio का 10% ही invest किया. Out of the 10 lakh we wanted to invest, हमने सिर्फ 10% first में invest किया. ठीक है, तो weight of first security is 10%, right? Now we also want to know the weight of other securities. So in a similar manner, हमने अपने weights identify करने हैं based upon the investment we are doing into a particular security upon the total investment that we have. Getting the point? So let's say in the second month, as far as the second security is concerned, we had a lot of conviction in it. ठीक है, तो हमने उसमें अपना 20% डाला, तो हम अपने 30% फंड्स एग्जॉस्ट कर चुके हैं. इन द थर्ड सिक्योरिटी अगेन वी डिड नॉट हैव अ लॉट ऑफ कन्विक्शन एंड वी इन्वेस्टेड समथिंग लाइक 10%. इन द फोर्थ सिक्योरिटी, ठीक है, जिसने हमारे को 10% का रिटर्न दिया, अभी हमारे पास कितने रह गए? 20 + 10 + 10 40 वी हैव एग्जॉस्टेड. वी आर लेफ्ट विथ समथिंग लाइक 60 and 3 stocks remaining. Okay, so weight 4 let's say is again 15%. ठीक है, weight 5 and 6 हमारा equal है, let's say round about equal है. तो what are we left with? 100 में से we have exhausted
45.
55. We are left with 45, right?
Yes.
So weight 5 let's say is 20% and weight 6 is 25%. Okay, so that's how we have planned our portfolio. ठीक है, I hope this point is clear to everyone. So these are our weights. अभी हमने क्या किया था? एक सिंपल एवरेज निकाला था which was telling us that the average return is 6.2% for the portfolio, right? अभी हम क्या कर रहे हैं? उनका वेटेड एवरेज निकाल रहे हैं. वेटेड एवरेज में वी आर सेइंग कि जिसमें जितना इन्वेस्ट किया है उसको उतना हम वेट देंगे अपने रिटर्न कैलकुलेशन में, ठीक है. एंड देयरफॉर फर्स्ट सिक्योरिटी रिटर्न would be multiplied by the weight of first security, which is 0.1 plus 15%, that is the return of the second security, into the weight of second security, which is 0.2. Then again minus 8% into the weight of third security, which is again 0.1, plus fourth security return is 10% and the weight is 0.15. right? And plus the last two are 5% return and
Multiplied
invested,
by 20%
sorry, multiplied by 20% plus
and 20% multiplied by 25%.
हम्म अभी इसको सॉल्व करते हैं. What do we get?
16.2.
16.2. Okay, can anybody verify? Is everyone getting 16.2? Please verify.
Getting 17.3, ma'am.
17.3. Okay, let me calculate it then. 17%, 16%. और भी कोई variety है क्या हमारे पास? I'm getting something else, so let me verify it again.
I'm getting 9.2.
Even
I'm
I'm
also
getting
getting
9.2.
9.2.
Even I'm
I'm
getting
also getting
9.2.
9.2.
Even I'm
Yes.
getting 9.2.
Okay, so फिर मेरे को verify करने की जरूरत नहीं है. I think 9.2 must be correct. Simple maths है. Nothing else. Please calculate it. Let me show you the calculation also. This is what I have done. I've simply calculated it. -5 into point plus 15 into 0.2 minus 8 into 0.1 plus 10 into 0.15 plus 5 into 0.2 plus 20 into 0.25. Simple maths we have to do. Enter, we'll get 9.2 here.
Yes,
Okay.
getting.
Okay. So what we are getting is it's 9.2 positive, right? So what we can see here is that by allocating different amount capital to different types of securities, we are able to increase our return by 3%, right? As far as the simple average was concerned, that can be considered as equal investment to all the securities. If we invest equally into all the securities, the average return is going to be 6.2. But if we invest differently into different securities based upon the conviction that we are having on them and be able to get more profits on the bigger investments that we have done and suffer losses on the smaller investment that we have done, that is position sizing that we call in technical terminology. If you are able to do that well, then we will be able to get better returns than simply investing equally into all the securities, right? This is another way to deal with it. And the third way is with respect to probabilities. Like we have these possible returns and their respective probabilities given to us. Okay. If let's take another example, a smaller one. Let's say if we invest into a stock, then there is a possibility of getting 10% return. There is a possibility of getting 0% return, and there is a possibility of getting minus 5% return. Either it will break even. Okay, whenever we take a trade, either we'll exit from it on break even basis, or loss basis, or profit basis. Profit will be defined by our target. Loss will be defined by the stop loss that we have defined for us. We discuss all these concepts in equity. Okay. So this is one point. Now, as far as this A stock is concerned, we want to calculate what can be the expected return by investing into A stock. What can be our expected return? So for that, we have these possibilities: 10% return, 0% break even, minus 5%. So we have three possibilities. Now whenever we take a trade, whenever we invest, it's a game of probability, not certainty, right? So we don't know what will turn around, but we would like to take such trades or invest in such a manner where the probability of profit is higher than the probability of break even or loss, right? So let's say the probability of this realization of this 10% profit is, let's say, 60%. That is more than 50%. If it's more than 50%, we can call it a high probability trade also. So let's say if the probability of success here is 60%, the break-even situation probability is, let's say, 10%, and there is a 30% probability of suffering losses. We want to know what is going to be our expected return based upon these possible returns and the respective probabilities. We can calculate the expected return by taking the return 1 into its probability plus return of 2 into its respective probability, that is इस रिटर्न के होने की क्या प्रोबेबिलिटी है उससे तो मल्टीप्लाई करना पड़ेगा ना. 10% रिटर्न आने की एक प्रोबेबिलिटी है, ठीक है. इट्स नॉट 100% श्योर शॉट that it is going to happen. There's a probability attached to it. So we basically take the respective return numbers and multiply them with the respective probabilities and then add them up to get the expected return. Now this is 10% into 0.6 plus 0% into 0.1 plus, or rather minus 5% into
30%.
30% of 0.3. ठीक है, तो 10% into 0.6 करेंगे 6% आ जाएगा. इसका तो 0 ही आएगा. इसका कितना आ जाएगा? 1.5. 5 into 0.3 will be 1.5, right? 6 minus 1.5 करते हो कितना आता है? 4.5 आता है.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so 4.5% actually becomes our expected return here. ठीक है. So that's the simple concept of expected value. We take the various values and we multiply them with the respective probabilities and add them up to calculate our expected value. Okay, usually used to calculate the returns, right? The next concept is with respect to variance, which is more related to the risk parameter. Okay, so variance का formula आपने किया है कभी पहले? क्या हमने डिस्कस किया था लास्ट क्लास में एक्सपेक्टेड रिटर्न एंड वेरिएंस? मुझे पता नहीं क्यों लग रहा है मैंने किया था शायद, पता नहीं.
I think yes, आपने वो फॉर्मूला डिस्कस किया था.
मैं बोल दूं तो आई थिंक यस. मतलब सारा हमने टाइम डेडिकेट कर दिया, उसके बाद हमें, मुझे भी और आपको भी याद आ रहा है कि तो शायद कर लिया था हमने. चलो, एनी हाउ, डू यू वांट मी टू, करा था नहीं करा था, डू यू वांट मी टू डिस्कस द वेरिएंट टुडे और नॉट?
I was not there in class. I don't mind if you do it.
Right, and the people who were there in the class, what do you suggest? Do you want me to repeat the variance concept again or okay? चलो फटाफट से वेरिएंस का कॉन्सेप्ट कर लेते हैं. वेरिएंस इज बेसिकली देयर टू टेल अस अबाउट how much we can deviate from our mean returns. Okay, so how much we deviate from our mean returns. That is what we are able to measure with the help of variance. Okay. Now the formula is very simple. We have to take the whatever expected returns we are getting and have to see how much those returns are different from the mean returns. Okay, so this is basically our observational returns, the actual returns that we are getting, minus the average returns. That is the mean return that we are expecting to get. ठीक है, इनका स्क्वायर करके हम क्या करते हैं, सम कर देते हैं. ठीक है, तो अपने पास क्या आ जाता है, अपने पास वेरिएंस आ जाता है. ठीक है, डिवाइडेड बाय एन भी करते हैं, वैसे आपके पीपीटी में लिखा नहीं हुआ, डिवाइडेड बाय एन भी करते हैं बेस्ड अपॉन द नंबर ऑफ सिक्योरिटीज. सो सिंपल सा कॉन्सेप्ट, अभी मैंने प्रोबेबिलिटी का कॉन्सेप्ट इंक्लूड नहीं करा है अभी. जस्ट आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ वेरिएंस which simply states that we take the various observations and see how much different they are from the mean returns. So x minus x bar gives us that kind of an information. Okay, individually हम उनका स्क्वायर करते हैं, सम कर देते हैं, डिवाइडेड बाय n कर देते हैं. That's how we can get to variance. But अभी हम क्या निकाल रहे हैं, variance with respect to probability. Probability के perspective से हमें क्या करना पड़ता है, अगेन हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा, उनकी रिस्पेक्टिव प्रोबेबिलिटी से मल्टीप्लाई करना पड़ेगा. ठीक है, लेट मी टेक एन एग्जांपल. ठीक है, लेट्स से दिस इज व्हाट वी आर प्रोवाइडेड विद. So let's say this is the information given to us. So what do we have? We have the various EPS and the respective probabilities given to us. Okay, so फटाफट से सबसे पहले आप expected value निकाल सकते हो based upon the formula that we've discussed. How much is it?
Screen, please.
Sorry, but your voice was breaking. Could not get it.
स्क्रीन शेयर कर दीजिए आप.
स्क्रीन शेयर कर दो. स्क्रीन शेयर नहीं है मेरी.
वो कभी कभार Zoom lags and then some people can see the screen, some people can't.
Oh, okay, fine. Please calculate the expected value. I'll be right back in a moment. Just calculate this expected value. Okay, yes. So what is the expected value that we are getting?
Was it
2.34?
2.345?
Yes, it is.
Yes,
Are you getting it?
2.34.
Okay, ठीक है जी. So the expected value is 2.34. ठीक है. Now we want to calculate the variance based upon probabilities. तो अभी हम क्या करेंगे? We'll look at all the observations and how much they are deviating from this mean. Okay, so here let's calculate it. 2.6 minus 2.34. Okay, then we have 2.45 minus 2.34. Then we have 2 minus 2.34, and lastly we have 2 minus 2.34. Okay, but here we cannot simply add them up because we have their respective probabilities also, right? So what we'll do is square भी तो चाहिए, तो square करेंगे इन सब का and इनकी जो respective probabilities हैं उनसे भी multiply करेंगे. ओके एंड फिर जो भी आएगा उसको ऐड करके उसका टोटल हमारा फाइनल वेरिएंस हो जाएगा. गेटिंग द पॉइंट? सो कैलकुलेट करो एक बार, देखते हैं.
And once we add all of this, we divide by number of.
No, we don't have to do
don't-
that this time. We don't have to do
Okay.
this time because we are considering their respective probabilities only. So
Achha,
these
okay.
probabilities are actually acting as weights for us, and
Right.
the total of this weight is going to be 1 only, right?
Yes.
So that's why we don't have to divide it by the number of securities this time.
Okay.
So it's basically maths, but I want you to solve this maths.
And 3.88%.
Yes, 3.8 it is correct. Please verify others also. Are we getting 3.88? आ रहा है सबका 3.88? कर रहे हो अभी कैलकुलेट?
Yes, ma'am. 3.8.
3.88 basically is our variance. Okay,
3.88.
great. So 3.88% is our variance. Standard deviation is the under root of variance. तो इसका स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशन निकालेंगे. विल टेक 3.88, उसका अंडर रूट कर देंगे. 3.88 का अंडर रूट कितना आता है?
19.6.
19.6.
19.69 to be more.
1.96.
19.6.
19 कैसे? 1.969.
1.97.
But standard deviation is always in percentage, no?
हाँ, it is in percentage. 3.88 percentage है. Let me
The answer is
calculate.
1.96. उसका मैंने क्या?
1.97.
Okay, I also have this application. Let me do it over that.
उसका if you do it, it will come 19.69%.
So just a minute. We have 3.88 under root. हाँ, 1.96 दिखा रहा है. एंड बात भी ठीक लगती है. 4 का अंडर रूट 2 होगा ना, समथिंग लेस देन 4 ही होगा ना. अंडर रूट ऑफ
हाँ, something
number
less than.
should be less
Standard
than
deviation
that
is
number.
always in percentage, no?
परसेंटेज में है, बट इफ यू इग्नोर द
कोई-
परसेंटेज.
तो percentage shift.
सो परसेंटेज है तो आप क्या कह रहे हो? पॉइंट
हाँ, then percentage
3.88.
19.6.
Actually, the number is 0.00388 something. तो वो इसलिए वो 3.88% में आया.
Okay. Let me check. 3.88 ही आंसर. मैं आपके let me convert it into decimals also and verify. आप कह रहे हो decimals में आपको either you will consider 3.88 and under root it, and percentage sign आपने पहले भी इग्नोर कर दिया, बाद में भी इग्नोर कर दिया. whatever is there, it is in percentage only. One approach can be this. The other approach can be आपने इसको decimals में convert करा, कैलकुलेट किया, फिर 100 से मल्टीप्लाई किया. ठीक है, अगर आप 3.88 का अंडर रूट करते हो तो देन यू डोंट मल्टीप्लाई इट विद 100 बिकॉज इट्स ऑलरेडी इन परसेंटेज. दिस 3.88 is in percentage. If we convert it into decimal, it will become 0.0388. इसका आप अंडर रूट करोगे तो फिर आपको बाद में 100 से मल्टीप्लाई करना पड़ेगा, विच यू डू. इसका अगर अंडर रूट करते हो तो इट इज कमिंग एज 0.9170, एंड फिर इसको आप 100 से मल्टीप्लाई करते हो तो इट गेट्स 19.69%. But directly भी तो कर सकते हैं ना? Why are we getting a different answer when we are doing it directly? डायरेक्टली कर रहे हैं तो एक डेसिमल का डिफरेंस आ रहा है, डेसिमल में कन्वर्ट करके कर रहे हैं तो वी आर गेटिंग 19.69%. व्हाई इज दिस थिंग?
Remember 19.69, like
Isn't
if you do it
convert the
via
probability?
the decimal also, if you see expected value also, the percentage is like 2.34. So technically can't be 19.67 after adding weights. Okay.
Sorry, can you repeat?
Itna spike would, like when we just took a simple expected value, the probability into EPS, we got 2.34. This is also in percentage only, right? 2.34.
Correct.
And then just by like variance calculate करेंगे हम लोग, just weights डालने के बाद 19.69 थोड़ी ना spike हो जाएगा, इतना बड़ा spike थोड़ी ना आएगा.
No, this spike, this is basically
19.69%.
this is not the value of the return. This is just saying that our outcome can vary up to 19.69% का variance हो सकता है from the mean value of 2.34. Our outcome can go up to something 19.69% plus, over and above it or below it. Okay, इतना variation हो सकता है, इतने percentage का variation हो सकता है. It's not the actual outcome, but the variation in outcome.
But
Okay.
Standard deviation is usually the systematic risk, no, of a portfolio.
Yeah.
It can be 19.6 because you look at
It
the
can be.
investment.
I'm
Because investment is
not
around
challenging it. I'm not
15.
challenging. Yeah.
उसके पास में आएगा ना, so probability is 15 and we are getting 1.9. We are like investing in a very defensive sector then. That can be the scenario. Or FMCG.
Confusion नहीं है उसमें, बस I have a little confusion regarding when we are converting it into decimals and then calculating it and then finally multiplying it with 100 to get it in percentage, we are getting 19.69. So shouldn't we get this same amount if we do not convert it into decimals and do it? But पता है वहां पे क्या challenge आ रहा है? See, I think the challenge must be when we are taking this 3.88%, इसको डेसिमल में करके ही एग्जैक्ट आंसर आएगा, सीधा में शायद नहीं आएगा. Why? Because 3.88% है and जब हम इसको डिवाइड, इसका अंडर रूट कर रहे हैं, इस परसेंटेज के इफेक्ट को हम नहीं इंक्लूड कर पा रहे शायद. अगर हम डायरेक्टली उसका अंडर रूट करते हैं तो मैथमेटिकली आई एम स्पीकिंग.
If you take, like we have taken 3.88, but the actual answer is 3.876.
चलो
Suppose if
उससे
you have
भी
a
कर
very big
लेते हैं.
portfolio, suppose 20 CR, then even a small variation would impact my portfolio like, very huge manner.
Even if you do that ways, even if you take 3 point, how much are you saying? 3.876.
Yeah, ma'am.
So if you take 3.876 and under root करते उसका 1.96 आएगा, 1.968.
I think just taking the 3.88 का direct value वो percentage account ही नहीं करता. Because उससे as a number calculated, just taking the under root.
Yes, that is what decimals में convert करके करो. ठीक है, from exam perspective, first convert it into decimals, then calculate the under root and then multiply it finally by 100 in order to get the percentage return. ठीक है. So this is about variance and standard deviation when we have probabilities. Now let's move forward with our next concept, that is with respect to covariance and correlation. Now, when we talk about these two concepts, these are also very important from the point of view of diversification. Okay. Whenever we are creating a portfolio, we want to create a portfolio in such a manner that our overall risk gets minimized. Like, for example, if you're investing all your money into equity markets, then you are playing very concentrated, not diversified. If there is something wrong with the equity markets, your whole portfolio can go down, right? But if you have multiple asset classes into your portfolio, you have equities also, bonds also, real estate also, gold, commodities, FD, etc. If you have multiple things, then even if equity could not perform in 1 year, maybe some other asset performed which gave you the return. And if there was something wrong with one asset, the other was able to give you returns, right? Likewise, even within equities also, if you're investing all your money into only banking stocks, then if the banking stocks perform, you'll make money. If they don't perform, you'll lose money, right? But if you trade and invest in multiple sectors, then sometimes some sector performs, sometimes the other sector performs, and you're able to diversify your risk because of it. So how do we know which assets, and within those assets, which securities we should include in our portfolio? It can depend upon the type of relationship they have with each other. In order to identify the relationship that various assets and various securities within those assets can have with each other, in order to understand that relationship, what do we have to do? We have to calculate the covariance and the correlation parameters. Now, covariance tells us about if two securities or assets are moving in the same direction or not. Okay. So covariance tells us about direction. That is, if the covariance is positive, they are moving in the same direction. If it is negative, they are moving in the opposite direction. But direction in itself is not enough. Beyond direction also we need some information based upon the degree. Okay, that is, what is the intensity of the relationship? Maybe they are moving in the opposite direction. Okay, first of all, for diversification, do we want our securities and our assets to move in the same directions or different directions?
Different.
Different
Or different. Yes, we want them to move in different directions. Why? Because if one is going down, the other is able to go up and compensate for the lost return. We would be happy, and the risk would be reduced, right? But if they're moving in the same direction, that means if one is going up, the other is also going up. So if one is going up, the other is also going up. If one is going down, the other is also going down. Then where is the diversification? If one goes down, the other also follows. तो वहां पर diversification नहीं है. In fact, they're moving together. So it actually increases our risk, right? But covariance just tells us about the direction and not the degree. Okay, that is the intensity of the relationship. That is how much together they are moving or how much opposite they are moving. Let's say they are moving in the opposite direction, but there's not much impact. One goes down by 10%, the other goes up by only 1%. Is it beneficial to us? एक 10% नीचे गया, दूसरा 1% ऊपर गया. it will not provide us any benefit. We still are suffering minus 9%. But if the degree is high, let's say one is going down by 10% and the other is able to go up by 10%, then we get break even. We are able to cover our losses, right? Then there is some benefit, some risk has been reduced, some losses have been reduced. So along with the direction, we also intend to know the degree. For the degree part, we calculate correlation. Correlation tells us about both the direction and the degree. Okay. So correlation tells us about both the direction and the degree of the relationship between two securities or asset classes. That's why the more common out of the two is correlation. You will find correlation being calculated a lot of times in comparison to covariance. Okay, because covariance just tells us about the direction. Okay, so I have told you the concept which we usually discuss in portfolio management, and here we are just including that concept with the probability impact. Okay, we are combining probability with the concept of covariance and correlation, right? Now concept remains the same. I'll give you the formulas for calculation of covariance and correlation. So the formulas remain the same. Just the difference is that within those formulas we are using expected return, for which we have expected return and risk, that is variance, as part of the formulas. And for the calculation of the expected value of the variance, we are using probability concepts. Getting the point? कोवेरियंस एंड कोरिलेशन के फॉर्मूले में कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा, उनके अंदर मीन है एंड रिस्क कैलकुलेशन है, उसमें फर्क पड़ेगा अगर प्रोबेबिलिटी होता है तो. ठीक है, लेट मी गिव यू द कोवेरियंस एंड कोरिलेशन फॉर्मूला. सो फॉर कैलकुलेशन ऑफ कोवेरियंस वी ऑलवेज हैव two things, two stocks, two portfolios, anything two, जिनमें हम कोरिलेशन या कोवेरियंस देख रहे हैं. सो द फॉर्मूला इज बेसिकली जो भी हमारी ऑब्जर्वेशन है माइनस जो भी हमारा एक्सपेक्टेड रिटर्न था, ठीक है, ऑफ ए सिक्योरिटी. लेट्स से ए है बी है, दोनों में कोवेरियंस कोरिलेशन वी आर ट्राइंग टू फाइंड आउट. सो व्हाटएवर रिटर्न ऑफ ए सिक्योरिटी इज माइनस द एक्सपेक्टेड रिटर्न ऑफ ए सिक्योरिटी. हम पहले क्या कर रहे थे, सिंपल वेरिएंस निकालने के लिए वी वर स्क्वायरिंग इट. हियर वी हैव टू सिक्योरिटीज ए एंड बी, सो इंस्टेड ऑफ स्क्वायरिंग इट हम क्या करेंगे, we are going to multiply these two things together. Okay, so this would be the return on A security minus the expected return on A security multiplied by the return of B security minus the expected return of the B security. ठीक है, ऐसे करके हम मल्टीप्लाई करते जाएंगे and we'll do the sum. Okay, what do we get? We get covariance. So the only difference is that instead of squaring we are multiplying the two. Rest it is similar to variance only, the formula. अब यहाँ पर probability का एंगल क्या है? Probability का एंगल सिंपली इतना है कि जो ये हमने expected return कैलकुलेट किया होगा ना, this must have been based on probability.
Ma'am, the return that we are minusing, I mean, return of A minus expected return, this return of A will be given to us, huh?
Yeah. These are the
इसका कोई कैलकुलेशन नहीं होगा ना?
नहीं, इसका कोई होगा. In fact, if they are asking you to calculate something like variance of covariance, probability is there that हो सकता है expected return भी आपको दिया हो, ठीक है, but नहीं भी दिया हो तो you can calculate the expected return and then use this formula to calculate variance or covariance, whatever the case be. Abhi, after covariance, let's have a look at the formula for calculation of variance, correlation also. तो देखो covariance, usually we are just calculating the covariance part so that we can calculate the correlation part, because correlation के formula में covariance आता है. Otherwise, as said before, correlation is a more useful metric in comparison to covariance because it gives us the direction as well as the degree of relationship between two things. Okay. So correlation क्या हो जाता है? We take the covariance between the two and then we divide it by the standard deviation of A. This is the covariance of AB that we calculated in this manner. We divided by the standard deviation of A into standard deviation of B. This gives us what? Correlation. Okay. So we'll use covariance to calculate correlation. Again, यहाँ पर भी हमारे पास कोई separate formula नहीं है incorporating this probability concept. ठीक है. Just the thing is that whatever this standard deviation is, standard deviation B, we will be calculating. This will again be based on probability. Okay. So the underlying expected return and the standard deviation will be based upon probability. Rest, the formula is the same with and without probability for both covariance and correlation. Okay. So I've discussed the meaning, the formula, everything. Now the last point is with respect to correlation values. Now, as said before, it tells us about the degree of relationship that two securities have with each other, right? So for that, we have a range of the ultimate value of correlation, which ranges from -1 to +1. -1 indicating perfect negative correlation, +1 indicating perfect positive correlation. Perfect matlab, if there will be a 1% change in one security, it will lead to 1% change in the other security. So it's perfect. Okay. +1 means that there's a positive correlation. That means if one security goes up by 1%, the other also goes up by 1%. When it's -1, it indicates that one security, if goes up by 1%, the other goes down by 1%. So that's perfect. इसमें बीच में क्या वैल्यू आ जाएगी? 0 आ जाएगी in the middle. That indicates that there is no correlation. Right? If the correlation value comes out to be 0, it means that there is no correlation between the two. If the value is close to 1, like it's like +0.8 or +0.9, that means it's high correlation, high positive correlation. If it's -0.8, -0.9, that means it's high negative correlation, not perfect but high. ठीक है. If it's close to 0, that means low correlation is there. So हमारे को डिग्री का आइडिया लगता है. As per the value of correlation that we get to know अगर positive sign है तो same direction है, negative sign है तो opposite direction है. And secondly, as per the final value, is it close to 0, is it close to 1, we get to know whether it's a high probability one or a high degree correlation or a low degree correlation. ठीक है. Concept is clear? Correlation. Okay.
Ma'am,
Now,
one minute. Explain
हाँ.
again for 0.
0 is that there is no correlation. एक का
Okay.
दूसरे से कोई लेना देना है नहीं. One is going up, the other is going into different direction. There is no perfect pattern only. No correlation. ठीक है. Let's take one small example to see if you can calculate the standard deviation of the portfolio returns. अच्छा. अब भी ये हमने क्या देखा है? हमने देखा है how we calculate the things when it comes to one or two securities. But now let's consider a situation where we are calculating portfolio returns and portfolio standard deviation. Have we discussed this point? Portfolio return, portfolio standard deviation. नो ठीक है, तो अभी पोर्टफोलियो पर्सपेक्टिव से देखते हैं। इफ वी हैव टू कैलकुलेट पोर्टफोलियो रिटर्न, तो अभी जैसे हमने एक्सपेक्टेड वैल्यू निकाला था, सिमिलर वे से, मतलब हमने वेटेड एवरेज जो निकाला था, वेटेड एवरेज वाला कॉन्सेप्ट याद है, सिमिलर तरीके से हम अपने पोर्टफोलियो का रिटर्न निकाल सकते हैं। ठीक है, सो वॉट एवर सिक्योरिटीज वी हैव, लेट्स से वी हैव ए सिक्योरिटी, so whatever return A security is giving into the weight of the portfolio that we have invested into A security, plus return of B security into the weight of B security, plus return of C security into weight of C security, so on so forth, सबको ऐड करते जाएगी, क्या आ जाएगा, पोर्टफोलियो रिटर्न आ जाएगा। ठीक है, so portfolio return is nothing but the weighted average. What about the portfolio risk? How do we calculate the portfolio risk?
Maybe the
For
standard
that,
deviation.
sorry, yes, we calculate the standard deviation of the portfolio. For that, we need standard deviation of A. Let's say, let's consider two securities, A and B. Okay, so there are two securities, A and B, into our portfolio. We want to know the portfolio risk or the portfolio standard deviation that we have. So what we will be doing is, we will be taking, both of them, we'll add them up and do the square. It's like square क्योंकि variance डाल रहे हैं, ठीक है, तो यहाँ पर you need to remember something, some mathematical function that we studied, that is a plus b square. A plus b square क्या होता है, a square plus b square plus 2ab, याद है?
Yes.
तो सिमिलर काम हम यहाँ पर करने वाले हैं in order to calculate the portfolio risk. So where standard deviation 1 into weight 1 will be the A, and standard deviation 2 into weight 2 will be the B, as in the two securities 1 and 2 into our portfolio. In this example, let's say A and B. So standard deviation A ka square into the weight of A ka square, this is A square in our expression, plus standard deviation B ka square into weight B square, this is B in our expression, plus 2 into standard deviation A into standard deviation B into weight A weight B. एक और चीज ऐड हो जाएगी, and that is correlation. Okay, this will give us the variance of the portfolio variance. And in case we want to know the portfolio standard deviation, that would be the under root of all this. Correlation is this symbol. Okay,
What is
again,
this P at the end?
this is correlation.
WAWP.
This is a Greek letter. इसको क्या बोलते हैं, I'm not able to recall right now, but this is a Greek letter and it is representing correlation. ठीक है?
I think it's known as upsilon. I'm not sure.
Sorry?
The Greek letter which you're talking about, I think it's known as upsilon.
Okay. I'm not too sure.
I guess it's rho, ma'am. Epsilon is different.
हाँ,
It's rho.
मुझे भी रो ही याद आ रहा था,
Derivatives में भी
but I
थोड़ा याद.
wasn't sure. I wasn't sure, इसीलिए मैंने बोला नहीं, but
नहीं,
I
derivatives में
think
किया
it's
था ना
rho.
मैम हम लोग.
Rho symbol, let me check. Yes, it's rho only. Okay, so this is how we can calculate the portfolio return and the portfolio variance. Okay, सो क्या क्या देखा हमने? हमने देखा कैसे हम स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशन निकाल सकते हैं, वेरिएंस निकाल सकते हैं, एक्सपेक्टेड वैल्यू निकाल सकते हैं, पोर्टफोलियो रिटर्न निकाल सकते हैं, पोर्टफोलियो रिस्क निकाल सकते हैं, कोरिलेशन निकाल सकते हैं, कोवेरिएंस निकाल सकते हैं. सो वी हैव डन a lot of formulas here, right? Now let's try to apply some of them. So for that, let's take this example. So this is the example I'm talking about. We have two stocks, stock 1 and 2. Their expected return, standard deviation, portfolio weight, and correlation given to us. We have to calculate the standard deviation of the portfolio. Can we calculate it? What do you think? Please calculate, try to calculate it using the formula we've just discussed.
तो मैम फर्स्ट पहले तो कोवेरिएंस निकालना पड़ेगा.
नहीं, कोरिलेशन है. कोरिलेशन है तो उसी से हो जाएगा हमारा काम. कोरिलेशन नहीं होता तो कोवेरिएंस निकालना पड़ता है. यहाँ पे आप डायरेक्टली बस पोर्टफोलियो स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशन का फॉर्मूला पुट करके कैलकुलेशन कर सकते हो. सब कुछ है आपके पास. ट्राई करो फटाफट से.
Can you scroll a little down, please? I'm seriously.
D 18.56.
18.56. Well, B is the answer. Very good. What about others? Are we able to calculate 18.56? Any challenges? If you feel like if you're facing any challenge while doing some calculation also ना, then do always let me know. बस जैसे पिछली बार हुआ था, एक डेसिमल की कंफ्यूजन थी, तो ऐसी कंफ्यूजन्स एग्जाम में कैरी फॉरवर्ड नहीं होनी चाहिए, राइट? फॉर दैट थिंग टू गेट क्लियर्ड वी हैव टू डिस्कस. यस
मैम, दिस वेरिएंस का सिंबल जो है, इज दिस वेरिएंस स्क्वायर और स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशन स्क्वायर? ये जो
it's standard deviation square which is equivalent to variance. So are we getting 18.56 everyone?
Yes.
Okay, great. So with this we have completed this concept, right? Now let me see if we have any more questions on these concepts that we've just discussed. Abhi we are left with two concepts as far as this chapter is concerned.
Let's take a break first.
ठीक है, fine. Let's take a break, and after the break we'll continue with this chapter. This chapter we will be able to complete today comfortably. You just have to see if we'll be left with any more time to go for the next chapter today or not. But this chapter we will be through with it today. Okay. So ठीक है, let's take a break here and let's continue after the break.
Ma'am, when will we resume? 4:40?
Yeah, approximately 10 minutes लेके चलो. ठीक है.
मैम आज एफिशिएंसी के टेस्ट में आईएमएस का भी सवाल लो ना.
एफिशिएंसी के टेस्ट में कौन से?
आईएमएस का खोलते ना आप अभी पीडीएफ स्वाइसर का. Those sums are more tricky than blue box.
अच्छा, you want me to take some Schwezer questions?
They are actually more tricky when you compare to blue box now.
Which blue box you're talking about?
CFA Institute now.
Acha, you're saying Schwezer questions are more difficult than the CFA curriculum blue box questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. ठीक है, I'm open to take as many questions as you want. ठीक है.
I'm like I did that time value of money ना, उसका sums. वो फाइल शेयर कर सकते हो मैम आप?
कौन सा फाइल?
जो अभी आईएमएस का था ना, वो श्वेजर का.
IMS का नहीं है वो, एक्चुअली IMS वो लिखा हुआ है वो उसके फोल्डर में है, और वो IMS का नहीं है, वो है श्वेजर बुक का क्वेश्चन. It's basically Schwezer notes you have.
No, ma'am, I'm not referring only CFA Institute.
Same. Even I don't have
Like,
special notes
I
like the
downloaded last year
the
wala
CFA.
from a website, and it went over my head. Like, समझ में तो आया नहीं. Then I thought, why would I order from Mahakali bookstore?
हाँ, महाकाली बुक स्टोर से you can order Schwezer books. Schwezer books are quite helpful. Schwezer notes. Let me show it to you. Basically, these are Schwezer books. Kaplan के आते हैं ये. So Schwezer notes 2022. Kaplan Schwezer.
These, right?
Yeah.
But these are 2020.
Yeah.
Like one friend had given
अच्छा.
it.
No,
Sam का नहीं
changes
है.
2022 के आपको चाहिए होंगे because there are significant changes this time in the syllabus. Usually नहीं भी होता तो चल जाता है पुराना भी, but अभी in this year थोड़े changes आए हैं, questions भी change किए, content भी change किया, तो I would recommend कि इधर-उधर एक-एक topic को verify करने से अच्छा है नए notes ले लो. महाकाली जाकर बोलो, वहां से order कर सकते हो. And क्या है
Can
ना
you share
इस
the PDF with us?
PDF, let me check because कुछ copyright issue वगैरह कुछ ना है तो let me
WhatsApp
check
पे
on
शेयर कर
that.
दो. WhatsApp पे.
हाँ मैम, अगर स्पेशल नोट्स है आपके पास
Let me check on
क्योंकि
that.
मैम
ठीक
मैं
है,
आई
मैं
चेक्ड
try करती
ऑनलाइन,
हूँ.
वी हैव टू पे फॉर इट. लाइक पिछले साल का मिल गया. लाइक दिस पर्सन आल्सो सुनो 2020 का मिल रहा है. लेटेस्ट नहीं मिल रहा. वी हैव टू पे फॉर इट.
कितना
So,
पे करना है?
वो तो देखना पड़ेगा. आई डोंट
Mahakali
रिमेम्बर.
Because
so special notes are for 1300.
हाँ वही 1200 1300 is the rate जिसमें आपको सारी बुक्स मिल जाती है, हार्ड कॉपीज वो भी. So if you are somebody who likes to study from hard copies, physical copies, so it's just about 1200 1300 is the price to get it from Mahakali. To get the original ones, of course, they're going to be very costly. But यहाँ से आपको 1200 1300 में मिल जाएगा पूरा सेट. तो अगर इन्हीं को आपने निकाल करके फोटोकॉपी करवाना है तो बेटर वुड बी कि आप वहां से ऑर्डर कर लो हार्ड कॉपीज.
कंसेप्ट तो एक ही है ना. सो वी कैन स्टडी फ्रॉम डायरेक्ट डेस्कटॉप ओनली. उसके हार्ड कॉपीज ले लेंगे सीएफए इंस्टीट्यूट के.
अब वो आपकी चॉइस है, जैसे आपको कंफर्टेबल
पीडीएफ
लगे
शेयर कर
वो
दो
आप
मैम.
कर सकते हैं.
लाइक इफ यू आर स्केयर ऑफ दैट
चलो
कॉपीराइट्स का, व्हाट्सएप पे कर दो या टेलीग्राम.
सभी के शेयर कर दो, खाली कॉइंट्स के नहीं. आपके
हाँ
पास
मैम.
अच्छा
सभी के कर
चलो
दो.
चलो लेट मी चेक ऑन इट. अगर कोई मतलब पॉसिबिलिटी है, आई विल शेयर इट. आई डोंट हैव एनी प्रॉब्लम विद इट. ठीक है, तो लेट मी चेक ऑन इट एंड मैं आपको एक बार कर दूंगी. ठीक है, गिव मी दिस वीक्स टाइम. अगर कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है तो मैं कर दूंगी. ठीक है, आई विल शेयर ऑल. अगर करने हुए तो सारे ही कर देंगे. ठीक है, लेट मी चेक ऑन इट. बाकी देखो ये
and
श्वेजर है एंड सेकेंडली आपका सीएफए की बुक्स है, ये दोनों है. और फिर आपका मेंटमी का मटेरियल, मेंटमी के सारे क्वेश्चंस हो जाते हैं जो भी आपके अपलोड होते हैं, एंड प्लस जो मॉक्स वगैरह. ये 3 रिसोर्सेज आप मान लो कि आपके प्राइमरी मटेरियल हो गया फॉर स्टडी पर्पस. जिसमें से कॉन्सेप्ट्स के लिए आप सिर्फ पीडीएफ्स, ये वाली मेंटमी की पीडीएफ श्वेजर नोट्स में भी अच्छी एक्सप्लेनेशन होती है. कॉन्सेप्ट्स के लिए आप वहां पर रेफर कर सकते हो. तो प्रैक्टिस के लिए तीनों रिसोर्सेज चाहिए, सारे एग्जांपल्स, सारे बैक क्वेश्चंस सब कवर होने चाहिए आपके.
the blue box questions are the end of chapter questions ना, like ये chapter के बाद जो भी questions होंगे those are the blue box questions CFA के books में.
ब्लू बॉक्स क्वेश्चंस तो एग्जांपल्स हो गए ना.
Oh. And
Blue box
also
yeah.
in the Mentami का this derivatives का जो भी material में है, only the PPT is there. So that's the ऐसे कोई question bank जैसा कुछ नहीं है.
ठीक है, let me check on that.
I guess Anirudh didn't upload, ma'am. Like for FSA he did. जैसे you thought no?
इक्विटीज के लिए भी है, बट डेरिवेटिव्स के लिए नहीं है. द टू चैप्टर्स दैट वी डिड फॉर डेरिवेटिव्स ना, उसके सिर्फ पीपीटीज है. देयर इज नो क्वेश्चन बैंक टू सॉल्व.
ठीक है, लेट मी चेक ऑन इट. डेरिवेटिव्स का भी आपके पास आ जाएगा क्वेश्चन बैंक अपलोड
That
करना
question
शायद रह
bank
गया
is
होगा.
that Google form only, na? The question bank is the Google form, right?
राइट राइट.
That Google form is not available for derivatives. Equities
ठीक है.
and FSA का था.
आई चेक ऑन दैट. ठीक है, डेरिवेटिव्स की क्वेश्चन बैंक को लेकर के आई चेक, और श्वेजर का भी आई चेक. ठीक है,
ट्रेजर्स के कितने पेज होंगे टोटल?
बहुत
लाइक
सारे पेजेस
383
हैं.
दिखा रहा था क्वांट्स में.
देयर आर 5 बुक्स इन टोटल.
1500 पेजेस अप्रोक्सीमेटली.
हाँ,
Online
तो
मुझे
there are
मिल गया मुझे Treasure 2022 के notes. So if you want, I can just
हाँ
send
हाँ
you
मेरे
the.
को टेलीग्राम पे
ऑनलाइन
भेज
मिल
दे.
रहे हैं.
हाँ, online मिल गया अभी वेबसाइट
क्या
पे.
बात है.
I'll just
लगता
send you the link in the.
है वेब पास आ गया ना मैम, इसके लिए कोई लीक क्या रहेगा?
हाँ. So I'll send you the links. All 5 books are there.
चलो क्या
ये
बात
बढ़िया.
है यार.
बाकियों को मत बता जो अटेंड नहीं किए, वो लोग की सजा.
बढ़िया.
Like
चलो
but
बुक्स.
I talked to Alan sir also before. Told like it's too much like Schwezer है ना.
Because Alan sir told us कि do not
हाँ
refer
ऑफ द
Shweta
ट्रैक
notes.
जाएगा.
श्वेजर.
Yes,
Yes, he only told us to stick to the curriculum.
CFA Institute.
ठीक है, दैट इज सी हर पर्सन की अपनी स्ट्रैटेजी होती है. ठीक है, सो मेरी डिफरेंट हो सकती है, एलन सर की डिफरेंट हो सकती है. ठीक है, तो अब नाउ इट्स अप टू यू टू डिसाइड कौन सी स्ट्रैटेजी आपको फॉलो
From
करनी
what
है.
I've
ठीक है,
read
आई
that the
एम.
CFA curriculum is very detail oriented and sometimes the information gets redundant and that's why some people prefer the Shweta notes.
Exactly. So that is the reason I suggest, and that is what I did also as far as level 1 is concerned. कि श्वेजर उठाया था, श्वेजर से सारा कंटेंट पढ़ा था, because it is very, I feel that श्वेजर is very specific. मतलब it does not go very deep into the concepts. It sticks to the point. तो conceptual clarity के लिए मुझे लगता है कि श्वेजर काफी है, बट प्रैक्टिस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू मुझे लगता है श्वेजर काफी नहीं है. बट CFA इंस्टीट्यूट की जो बुक्स है वो काफी डीप चली जाती है कंटेंट को लेकर के. तो इसीलिए CFA इंस्टीट्यूट की बुक्स के जितने भी एग्जाम्पल्स है, जितने भी प्रैक्टिस प्रॉब्लम्स है, वो सब करो. कंटेंट नहीं भी रीड करोगे चलेगा, श्वेजर से कंटेंट रीड करो, श्वेजर से भी प्रैक्टिस करो, CFA बुक से भी प्रैक्टिस करो, मेंटर मी के क्वेश्चन से भी प्रैक्टिस करो, मेंटर मी की पीपीटी से रिवाइज कर लो. तो आपका एक अच्छा प्रिपरेशन हो सकता है. दिस इज वन स्ट्रैटेजी दैट यू कैन अडॉप्ट. बाकी इवन इफ यू आर रेफरिंग टू CFA इंस्टीट्यूट बुक्स फॉर कंटेंट, जो आप पढ़ के देखो ना, श्वेजर भी पढ़ के देखो, CFA इंस्टीट्यूट की बुक्स भी पढ़ के देखो, आपको जो
Ma'am,
आपका
I've read
एक्सपीरियंस
both.
है.
So ये जो like earlier 2020 का जो book था, I tried to refer. This is like very specific that you told. But CFA तो it'll go like
Yes.
same chapter like time and value of money for example. ये supposing 10-12 पेज में खत्म हो जाएगा. And the CFA website will go until 40 pages.
I know.
30 pages तक it will go. It will be very deep.
एग्जैक्टली. और हर एक के पास इतना ना टाइम है ना पेशेंस है कि वो इतना डीप जा सके. सो दैट इज व्हाई आई सजेस्ट कि श्वेजर से आप रीड
Ma'am,
कर.
but it won't affect our preparation. Just say like if you just
No.
because
Up
if
to
we
you.
solve because the questions in the CFA thing will obviously take into account all the details like 3 pages का whatever deep explanation they've
Yeah.
given उसके basis पे back end questions.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if we read from Schweizer's and then practice from the CFA का thing, won't it affect our understanding थोड़ा?
Not at
Because
all.
some
Because
questions we won't ऐसा नहीं होगा ना कि some questions we don't know only because Schweizer's
ऐसा
में
कुछ नहीं है.
इतना
ऐसा
detail
कुछ
नहीं
नहीं है,
था.
बिकॉज आपका श्वेजर बेस तो क्रिएट कर ही रहा है ना, ऐसे तो वो नहीं चल रहा. आपका बेस क्रिएट करने के लिए श्वेजर इज मोर देन इनफ, बट प्रैक्टिस के लिए वन मटेरियल कैन नेवर बी इनफ. चाहे वो आप CFA पढ़ो या कुछ भी पढ़ो, तो यू वुड ऑलवेज लाइक टू एक्सप्लोर एंड लर्न फ्रॉम अदर रिसोर्सेज एज वेल. तो करिकुलम से मतलब इट्स अप टू यू. ठीक है, आपके पास कितना टाइम है, आप उस हिसाब से डिसाइड करो आपको श्वेजर पढ़ना है या करिकुलम पढ़ना है। दोनों में से एक जो आपको लगता है कि आप कंफर्टेबल हो, पढ़ो उससे, पर प्रैक्टिस दो से करो, ठीक है। अगर आप श्वेजर पढ़ रहे हो तो डू द होल ऑफ श्वेजर इंक्लूडिंग द कंटेंट एंड क्वेश्चंस, एंड सीएफए इंस्टीट्यूट की बुक से आप सिर्फ क्वेश्चंस प्रैक्टिस कर सकते हो, और द अदर वे अराउंड, that is studying everything from the CFA Institute books and referring to Shwezar just for questions, ठीक है। एक बुक को अपना मेन रख लो, दूसरे को सिर्फ क्वेश्चंस उसमें से रेफर करो। क्वेश्चंस मेरे मतलब व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से इज कि क्वेश्चंस दोनों बुक से
क्वेश्चन
कवर
सब
होने
जगह
चाहिए। कंटेंट आप एक बुक का पढ़ सकते हो बिकॉज दैट इज टोटल रेपिटेशन। तो जो भी आप पढ़ना चाहो, श्वेजर वुड बी टू द पॉइंट, curriculum would be too much in detail. Sometimes it actually gets out of track too much in detail, which is not required also. That's why I suggest, or the strategy that I followed was that I covered everything from Shwezar and went for questions with respect to CFA books and the website questions and everything. And website as in the CF Institute website questions. This I followed for level 1. ठीक है, and that is what I suggest. Everyone can have their own strategy. मैं आपको दोनों का प्लस माइनस बता दी, ठीक है। अब आप लोग डिसाइड कर सकते हो कि आपको कौन सी यूज करनी, ठीक है जी। सो अभी लेट्स हैव अ ब्रेक, ठीक है, और ब्रेक के बाद कंटिन्यू करते हैं फिर। ओके, सो लेट्स गेट स्टार्टेड। So now, what is the next thing that we will be taking up? We are just left with a couple of concepts here that we will be focusing upon. One is with respect to the base formula, okay, and the second is with respect to counting, okay. So let's consider this base formula first. Now, what is this base formula? Let's understand that. So basically what happens here, where exactly do we use this base formula? We use it when we have some new information, and based upon that new information, we want to calculate the updated probabilities, okay. When we have some new information and based upon that new information we want to calculate the updated probabilities, we refer to it as the base formula, okay. Now how do we do that? Let's see. For that there will be some event, right? We want to calculate the probability of that event given the new information, right? So we want to basically calculate the probability of an event given the new information, for which we will be using the base formula. And as per the base formula, what we need to do is we need to take the probability of the information given the event, and we need to divide this whole thing by the probability of information, and then multiply it with the probability of event, okay. So abhi ke liye you can simply write this down. When I'll use an example to explain it, it would become very clear to you what this formula means. So I will not explain this formula, I will take an example in which we will apply the logic behind the base formula, And then you can just remember the formula based upon the logic that we will be discussing. Okay. So let me take an example here. Okay, so let's say this is the situation that we are dealing. So what do we have? We have that there is a 60% probability the economy will outperform, and if it does, there is 70% probability of stock going up. There is a 30% probability that the stock will go down. Okay. There is a 40% probability of the economy underperforming. And if it does underperform, there's a 20% chance of the stock going up and a 80% chance of it going down. Given the stock increased in value, calculate the probability that the economy outperformed. Okay, so let's create a tree here to incorporate all this information. So there are two main things that can happen. One is that the economy will outperform, and the other is that the economy will underperform. If the economy outperforms, first of all, what is the probability of it happening? There is a 60% probability of the economy outperforming, and there is a 40% probability of economy underperforming, correct? Now, if the economy outperforms, there are two probabilities that the stock may go up, the stock may go down. The probability of stock going up
70%.
70%. The probability of
Down
stock
is 30%.
30%. Absolutely correct. And in case the economy underperforms, we again have two possibilities. One is the stock going up, and the other is the stock going down. If the stock goes up, what is the probability? 20%, and 80% is the probability of the stock going down. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, first of all, एक चीज calculate करते हैं यहाँ पर, and that is basically what is the probability of stock increasing in value. Can you calculate? Forget about what the question says. Given this set of information, can we go ahead and calculate the probability of the stock increasing in value? कर सकते हम calculate? कैसे करेंगे?
Ma'am, so if the economy outperforms, we have a 60% probability. And if that happens, we have the probability of the stock going up is 70%. So 60 into 70.
Right.
So that is 0.42% of the probability of the stock going up if the economy outperforms. And if the economy underperforms, then the probability of the stock going up is 40 into 20. So that is 0.8, 8%.
Mm.
So 8% is the probability when the stock goes up. Is the probability of the stock going up when the economy underperforms. And
Correct.
if we add that, we have the total probability of the stock going up.
Absolutely correct. So it would be 60% of the probability of the economy outperforming into a 70% chance of the prices going up, given that the economy has outperformed, plus 40% probability of the economy underperforming into the 20% probability of the stock price is going up, given that the economy has underperformed. So this will be equal to 42%, right? 60% का 70% कितना होगा? 42% होगा, और 40% का 20% कितना होगा? 8%, right or wrong? So this comes out to be 50%. Are we clear on this 50%, everyone?
Yes.
So what is this 50%? This is the total probability of the stock price going up, irrespective of whether the economy outperforms or underperforms, right? This is using the total probability rule that we have discussed. Now let's read what the question is asking. The question says that given that the stock has increased in value, so this is given that this has happened, that the stock has increased in value, this has happened. Given this thing, we want to calculate the probability that the economy outperformed. आप समझ रहे? टोटल प्रोबेबिलिटी रूल निकाला था, तो ये देख रहे थे कि स्टॉक प्राइसेस के बढ़ने की क्या प्रोबेबिलिटी है, गिवन दैट द इकोनॉमी अंडरपरफॉर्म्ड और आउटपरफॉर्म्ड. अभी हम ऑपोजिट देख रहे हैं. हम क्या देख रहे हैं? दैट वी नो दैट द स्टॉक प्राइसेस हैव गॉन अप. वी वांट टू नो दैट द इकोनॉमी आउटपरफॉर्म्ड और नॉट. व्हाट इज द प्रोबेबिलिटी दैट द इकोनॉमी आउटपरफॉर्म्ड? ठीक है, तो कैसे करेंगे? सिंपल है. आप देखो, prices going up, that is your total pool of possibility, right? Because that is given. जो given है, हमने उसको denominator में लिया कि there is only in totality there is only a 50% chance that the prices will go up, irrespective of whether the economy underperformed or outperformed. ठीक है? Out of this 50%, what is that proportion which belongs to because of outperformance of the economy? That is
42%.
42%. So out of this 50%, we want to know what is the probability of outperformance of the economy given that the stock price have risen. That would be equivalent to 42% divided by 50%. When you calculate it, what do we get? Sorry?
84%.
54%? Okay. 84.
I'm also getting 84%.
84. So there is a probability of 84% that the economy must have outperformed given that the stock prices have risen. That is pretty logical also, because आप देखो 50% चांस है स्टॉक के ऊपर जाने का, जिसमें से 8% है when the economy has underperformed and 42% है when the economy has outperformed. तो total 50% में से 42% is due to the economy outperforming, right? So 42 by 50 अगर आप करोगे, that should be a significant proportion, कि मतलब इकोनॉमी आउटपरफॉर्म ही करी होगी. अभी अगर क्वेश्चन होता given that the stock prices have increased in value, calculate the probability that the economy has underperformed, उसका क्या आंसर होता? अगर ये लास्ट में आउट परफॉर्मेंस की जगह पर अंडर परफॉर्मेंस लिखा होता तो क्या आंसर होता?
16%.
16%. That is just the opposite of it. मतलब अगर 100% है ये, तो 100 minus 84 is 16%. So there is a 16% chance that given that the stock prices increased in value, the economy has underperformed. Getting the point? So base formula में we are actually moving backward, right? Total probability rule में we were moving towards the front, that is unconditional probability निकाल रहे थे. अब उस unconditional probability में से भी किसी एक particular condition की क्या probability हो सकती है given that that unconditional event has happened. वहां पर हम base formula use करते हैं, ठीक है? So this is the formula and the meaning and the context, ठीक है? इस पे जितने क्वेश्चंस प्रैक्टिस करोगे उतनी आपकी क्लैरिटी बेटर होती रहती है. अभी moving a little ahead, let me see if we have a question on it. ठीक है, there is another question I think based upon base formula only. So let me share that question. अभी देखते हैं ये वाला क्वेश्चन आप लोग सॉल्व कर पाते हैं कि नहीं. प्लीज रीड द क्वेश्चन एंड ट्राई टू सॉल्व इट. सो बेसिकली क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पर? So in a typical year, 5% of all the CEOs are fired for performance reasons. Assume that the CEO performance is judged according to the stock performance and that 50% of the stocks have above average returns or good performance. Okay. So 50% of the stocks have above average returns or good performance. Empirically, that means historically, 30% of all the CEOs who were fired had good performance. Using this formula, what is the probability that the CEO will be fired given good performance? ठीक है. अभी देखते हैं how many of you can calculate it. I would suggest एक tree बना लो of the events.
So ma'am, we can take 0.3 divided by 0.5, that is the probability of good rating divided by this probability of CEO. We can get the answer or ना पड़ेगा मैम.
देखो एक तो हमें क्या चाहिए, हमें बेसिकली चाहिए द प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ गुड परफॉर्मेंस रेटिंग, बिकॉज द क्वेश्चन सेज व्हाट इज द प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ सीईओ बीइंग फायर्ड गिवन गुड परफॉर्मेंस. तो गिवन क्या है? गुड परफॉर्मेंस. तो व्हाट इज द अनकंडीशनल प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ गुड परफॉर्मेंस, एंड देन उसमें से व्हाट इज द प्रोबेबिलिटी of firing when good performance is there. %5
तो बना के बताओ ना, थोड़ा कंफ्यूज.
हाँ.
Ma'am, I've made one thing. Can I just एक बार tell you?
Yeah, sure. आप शेयर करना चाहते हो स्क्रीन?
नहीं, I've put, like penned it down, so share नहीं करता.
Okay.
So like my tree started off with fired and not fired. So 5% is the probability of getting fired. 95% will be the probability of not being fired.
Right.
And then
5% is fired for performance reason. So 95% firing must be because of non-performance reasons.
हाँ वही.
ठीक है.
Fired for performance reasons and 95% is not fired for non-performance.
ठीक है.
So out of that, we have either good performance or bad performance. So 50% is good performance, 50% is bad performance. Same thing, not
Right.
fired for non-performances. Like उसमें good performance will be 50% and bad performance will be 50%. Is this correct? Or there
तो आपने
something?
क्या किया फिर finally? What have you done?
No, this is the thing I've done now. Like I'm just
अच्छा.
confused how to assign the thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. Let me just simplify stuff for you. You can see my whiteboard.
Yes.
Okay. So let me first write down what information we have. Okay. So first of all, the probability of CEO getting fired, okay, due to performance reasons. So let me just say fire. So probability of fire is given as 5% to us, right? What else is given? Probability of performance is 50%. Okay. And there is a probability of 30% probability that the CEO will be fired given good performance. So it's like probability of fire given performance. This is given as 30%. Okay. So basically, if we prepare a tree towards it, तो possibility है कि आप perform करोगे या आपने perform नहीं किया. ठीक है, जिसकी possibility क्या है, 50-50 है. गिवन कि आपने परफॉर्म किया है, उसके बाद आप फायर हो जाते हो या नॉट फायर्ड हो. ठीक है, आपने नहीं परफॉर्म किया, आप फायर हो जाते हो या नॉट फायर्ड. दीज आर द वेरियस इवेंट्स दैट कैन हैपन. करेक्ट? यहाँ तक क्लियर है सबको? वी आर कंसर्न्ड विद दिस एरिया. ठीक है, इससे रिलेटेड कुछ क्वेश्चन नहीं है. ठीक है, इसको भूल जाओ. वी आर कंसर्न्ड विद दिस एरिया वेयर वी आर सेइंग कि हमारे पास परफॉर्मेंस की प्रोबेबिलिटी दी हुई है. गेटिंग फायर्ड व्हेन परफॉर्म्ड की प्रोबेबिलिटी है 30% एंड फायर होने की प्रोबेबिलिटी कितनी है, 5%. और व्हाट आर वी बीइंग आस्क्ड, क्वेश्चन को ध्यान से रीड करते हैं. व्हाट इट सेज इट. अगर आपको ये नहीं भी समझ आया ना, कैन जस्ट इग्नोर इट for
Your
some time.
performance means good performance, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
So we can ignore this part also. अगर ये ट्री के थ्रू नहीं भी समझ आया, perfectly fine. Let's just focus upon the information that is given to us. So we are provided that the probability of getting fired is 5%. Probability of performance, good performance is 50%. Probability of getting fired when performed is 30%. Okay. So if we want to calculate the combined probability of getting fired and performing, तो combined probability के लिए क्या करते हैं हम, joint probability निकालते हैं. So इन दोनों की अगर combined probability निकालनी है, तो that would be equivalent to 30% into 5%, right? So 30% का 5% कितना हो जाएगा? If you calculate it,
Ma'am, I didn't understand. ये 30 into 5 by 2.
that is just the joint probability of a person getting fired and performing. That's how we calculate joint probabilities, by multiplying the two things. That's what we've been doing so far. Conditional probability.
So the 30% given here is the probability of fire given you performed well.
Yeah, joint probability. देखो, I think what we can write here is, excellent. Let me read the question again. Um, just a minute. I'm just trying to relate as much as I can with the language of the question. Just give me a moment for that. And the 5% fall, the CEOs are fired for performance related something performance such as 30% of the CEOs who were fired had a good performance. Basically, you know, what, just when we get into exact formulas, थोड़ा कंफ्यूजन हो जाता है. लॉजिकली सोच के देखते हैं. अगर आप लॉजिकली सोच के देखो तो 5% लोग फायर हो रहे हैं एंड उसमें से जो 30% है वो फायर हो रहे हैं व्हेन दे परफॉर्म्ड आल्सो. तो व्हाट इज द प्रोबेबिलिटी कि कोई फायर हुआ है और उसने परफॉर्म भी किया होगा. दैट इज व्हाट वी आर ट्राइंग टू कैलकुलेट हियर सिंपली. जैसे कि हम देख रहे थे
in the starting of the question, they say that 5% is the probability of CEOs getting fired with good performance. No?
Yeah, but then what would be the significance of this percent? Then we have to make some sense. I think there is something unclear about the exact language, but what they are trying to say is this only. कि भाई 5% लोग फायर हो रहे हैं एंड अदरवाइज दोनों ही सेम चीज बोल रहे हैं बट डिफरेंट प्रोबेबिलिटीज दे रहे हैं. ठीक है. 5% of CEOs got fired for performance reason. 30% of the CEOs were fired due to when they had good performance. So it's not matching up a lot. But if we think it about in this sense that okay 5% are getting fired, इसको हम ऐसे भी सोच सकते हैं performance reasons लिखा है. That can be anything. Okay, it can be anything. But अपने को तो यही समझ आता है performance reasons मतलब अच्छा perform नहीं किया होगा तो fire हो गए. It seems that way. तो इस line को, इस word को अगर हम ignore करें and focus करें logic पे than exact words, तो logically तो ये समझ आता है कि भाई 5% people get fired and 30% of people are getting fired when they had good performance also. यही लिखा है 30% of the CEOs were fired when they had good performance. So what is the combined probability of a person getting fired and performing? That would be the multiplication of the two. Right? So if we multiply this 30% with 5%, what do we get? %30 का 5% कितना होता है?
1.5%.
1.5%. So 1.5% is the number of is the percentage of CEOs who have got fired and had good performance combined. ठीक है. अभी क्वेश्चन क्या पूछ रहा है? What is the probability that a CEO will be fired given good performance? अभी हमने ये क्या कैलकुलेट किया है? गुड परफॉर्मेंस था एंड फायरिंग था, कंबाइंड कैलकुलेट किया है. अभी अगर हम इसको टोटल प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ गुड परफॉर्मेंस से डिवाइड कर दे, टोटल प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ गुड परफॉर्मेंस क्या है? 50%. यानी टोटल पूल क्या है? 50% है, जिसमें से आउट ऑफ दिस 50% परफॉर्मिंग गुड, 1.5% are the people who get fired and remaining 48.5% people do not get fired. There is a 50% probability of good performance given good performance, there is 1.5% probability that the CEO will be fired, and there is a 48.5% probability, that is 50 minus 1.5, there is a 48.5% probability that the CEO will not be fired. What we intend to calculate is what is the probability of the CEO getting fired given that there was a good performance. तो पहले तो good performance की निकाल ली, which was 50%, which was already given to us. फिर हमने उस 50% में से कितनी प्रोबेबिलिटी है कि सीईओ फायर हो जाएगा जब परफॉर्मेंस भी अच्छी थी, वो निकालने के लिए हमने क्या किया, फायरिंग की प्रोबेबिलिटी एंड परफॉर्मेंस व्हेन फायर की प्रोबेबिलिटी को मल्टीप्लाई कर दिया to get this joint probability. This gives us the probability of the CEO being fired and performing upon the total pool of good performance, which is 50%. When we calculate it, what do we get? 1.5% divided by 50 would be how much? 3%?
Yes, ma'am, 3%.
Yeah. So 3% is basically the probability that the CEO will be fired given good performance. I have explained this question with respect to the logic. If you feel more comfortable learning the formula, then there is the formula of base formula also that I gave to you when we started. अगर आपको उस फॉर्मूले के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में समझ आता है तो आप वो फॉर्मूले के हिसाब से कर सकते हो, अगर लॉजिकली सोच के समझ आता है तो आप लॉजिकली चल सकते हो. बोथ वेज आर ओपन.
Ma'am, this that you wrote, can you please show it in a tree form? I think
Your voice is not audible. Can you be a little loud?
Hello, am I audible,
Yes.
Abhi?
हाँ. Okay.
Is it
Go
better?
ahead. Seems so.
Okay, ma'am, I was just asking, ma'am, अभी आपने जो समझा, please आप tree form में एक, can you explain this?
Which form?
The tree diagram.
Tree diagram में मत जाओ इस क्वेश्चन को लेकर के. Don't go into tree diagram. You'll get confused further. Try to understand it logically. We are being asked what is the probability of a CEO being fired given good performance. We took the good performance scenario. That is our total pool. Okay. This is our total pool. Out of this total pool, people get fired. Okay. Now, out of this good performance pool, 50%, this is basically 50% probability of good performance. सबसे पहले तो ठीक है. अब इस good performance के pool में भी हम क्या देख रहे हैं? We are looking at the probability of a CEO getting fired or not fired. ठीक है. So यहाँ पर fired है, not fired है. Good performance, जो आपका जो भी क्वेश्चन होता है ना, उसके लास्ट में जो लिखा होता है ना, उस पर फोकस क्या करो. लास्ट में क्या लिखा है क्वेश्चन के? We want to calculate the probability of a CEO getting fired given good performance rating. ठीक है. तो good performance rating हमारा मेन पूल हो गया है. उस पूल के विद इन देयर इज अ पॉसिबिलिटी कि आपको अच्छी रेटिंग मिली है, आप फायर हो गए. देयर इज अ पॉसिबिलिटी आपको अच्छी रेटिंग मिली है, आप फायर नहीं हुए. गेटिंग द पॉइंट? आपको क्या निकालना है? प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ गेटिंग फायर्ड व्हेन यू हैड अ गुड परफॉर्मेंस रेटिंग. ये निकालना है आपको. तो गुड परफॉर्मेंस रेटिंग आने की आपकी 50% प्रोबेबिलिटी है. You want to know this parameter, that is what is the probability of getting fired in this pool of good performance, not bad performance. In this pool of good performance, आप good performance rating में ही थे and still you got fired, इसकी probability निकालनी पड़ेगी. तो उसके लिए हमने क्या किया था, we considered कि कितने लोग इस कैटेगरी में है जो फायर होते हैं, which is 5%, ठीक है, and 30% गुड परफॉर्मेंस में, सॉरी 30% लोग गुड परफॉर्मेंस की कैटेगरी में है जो फायर हो रहे हैं, एंड ओवरऑल देयर इज अ 5% प्रोबेबिलिटी कि फायरिंग हो जाएगी. 95% चांस है कि फायर नहीं होगा. ठीक है, इग्नोर दैट परफॉर्मेंस रीजंस थिंग. ठीक है, जस्ट कंसिडर इट सिंपली 5% इज द प्रोबेबिलिटी दैट द सीईओ विल बी फायर्ड. 95% प्रोबेबिलिटी है कि सीईओ फायर नहीं होगा. 5% प्रोबेबिलिटी कि वो फायर हो गया, ठीक है, मल्टीप्लाइड बाय द 30% प्रोबेबिलिटी कि उसकी रेटिंग भी अच्छी थी, विल गिव अस दिस पूल का इस एरिया की प्रोबेबिलिटी, which came out to be 1.5%. तो there is a 1.5% प्रोबेबिलिटी कि वो गुड परफॉर्मेंस के पूल में लाइक कर रहा है और फायर हो गया. We took that and divided by the total pool of good performance, which is of 50%, to get 3% chance. So there is a 3% chance that a CEO will be fired given good performance. Okay, so this is the tree or the logic, whatever you may call it, that can help you, or the formula. या तो formula रट लो, अगर ये logic नहीं समझ आता तो just do the formula, and जैसे formula बोल रहा है वैसे solve कर दो. और दूसरा वे है जो भी given है.
मैम एक मिनट, क्वेश्चन का स्क्रीन शेयर करिए ना प्लीज.
Okay. This is the question screen. So you can go either with the logically चलेगा तो सबसे पहले अपना main pool identify करेंगे, which is as per the question. जो भी चीज given होगी आपको, given good performance है तो good performance is a major pool. आप उसकी probability निकालते हो, which is 50%. उसके within आपको firing की probability चाहिए थी, उसके लिए you took this 5% possibility of getting fired and 30% possibility of getting fired when good performance is there. So 5% into this 30% gave you 1.5% probability out of this 50% probability, right? So 1.5% divided by this 50% total gives us the probability of getting fired given good performance. ठीक है, this is in similar lines only. जैसे हमने last question किया था, बिल्कुल उसी के context में किया है, बिल्कुल similar pattern से मैंने इसको solve किया. ठीक है, एक दो बार और करोगे इन questions को, I'm sure these will get clear. फिर भी नहीं होते तो we can discuss it in the next class. ठीक है, अभी let's move forward. So this is about base formula. Moving ahead, the last topic that we have is of counting. ठीक है, now what is this counting? Let's find out. देखो, whenever we are arranging items, there are many ways in which we can arrange. Okay, let's say for example, if we have 50 students in a class, we can arrange the 50 students in multiple ways. ठीक है ना, multiple ways से हम raise कर सकते हैं. Now if we want to know the total number of ways in which we can arrange, how can we do that? ठीक है, how can we count the number of ways in which we can arrange the various items, for which we have three concepts. Okay, one is of labeling and the other is of combination and permutation. You must have heard about them if you studied maths at your lower levels. ठीक है, अभी थोड़ा सा हम इसको इन्वेस्टमेंट के कॉन्टेक्स्ट से पढ़ेंगे. सेकेंडली हमारा फोकस सिर्फ इन्वेस्टमेंट एंगल लाना है, बहुत ज्यादा कॉम्प्लेक्स करना नहीं है. तो वी डोंट रिक्वायर टू गो अ लॉट डीप इनटू द कॉन्सेप्ट्स ऑफ परम्यूटेशन कॉम्बिनेशन, बट being aware of it and how it can be useful in the field of finance investments, that is something that we will be talking about. ठीक है. So first of all, the objective is to find out the number of ways in which we can, maybe let's say for example, if we can arrange various securities in our portfolio. Okay, so let's take a few examples to understand this point. Let's say this is the question. So the question says, consider a portfolio consisting of 8 stocks. So we have in total 8 stocks with us. Your goal is to designate 4 of the stocks as long term, 3 of the stocks as short term, and 1 stock as sell. How many ways can these 8 stocks be labeled? तो अभी हम क्या कर रहे हैं? We have 8 stocks. We are trying to label them. 4 को लेबल देगा लॉन्ग टर्म, 3 को लेबल देगा शॉर्ट टर्म, एंड 1 को सेल का लेबल देगा. And how many ways in which we can do this, we want to calculate that. ठीक है, कैसे करेंगे? टोटल वेज अगर अपने को निकालने होते हैं, ठीक है, अगर हम भूल जाए that there are 3 labels in it, when we have to calculate the total ways of doing something, we need to calculate their factorial. Factorial क्या होता है? 8 stocks है तो 8 factorial निकालेंगे. कैसे निकलता है 8 factorial? 8 into 7 into 6 into 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. This is how we can calculate the factorial. So अगर हमें कभी भी total ways निकालने तो simply we can calculate the total factorial of the total number of things which are there. 8 stocks are there, 8 factorial निकालेंगे. अभी if we talk about your calculator, तो your calculator has the facility, उस facility को use करके we can avoid all these calculations. तो उसके लिए क्या करेंगे? If you go into your calculator, वहां पर जो मल्टीप्लिकेशन का सिंबल है उसके ऊपर, इफ यू लुक एट द मल्टीप्लिकेशन सिंबल, उसके ऊपर आपको एक एक्स एक्सक्लेमेशन मार्क दिखेगा. दिख रहा है? दैट एक्स एक्सक्लेमेशन मार्क is basically representing factorial. So अगर हमारे को 8 factorial निकालना है तो what we can do is we can have 8 and then second and then your multiplication. फोर 320 आ रहा है. सो ये क्या है? हमारी टोटल पॉसिबिलिटीज है. अगर हमारे पास कोई लेबल नहीं होता तो there are 40,320 ways in which we can arrange these 8 stocks. But because we have this label to be provided, तो हम थोड़ा सा हमारा number of ways कम हो जाएगा, right? We can arrange, so we'll have to divide it by the respective label arrangement also. So like for example, we have 4 stocks to whom we have to give long-term label. So there are 4 factorial ways to do that. Into we have 3 stocks to whom we have to give short-term label and 3 factorial ways to do that. And there is 1 stock which you want to give cell label and there is 1 factorial way to do that. ठीक है, तो अभी ये जो आया है इसको इससे डिवाइड करेंगे, तो अगर हम 4 फैक्टोरियल निकालते हैं तो वो कितना आता है? 24 एंड 3 फैक्टोरियल निकालते हैं तो 6. So if we divide this, what do we get?
280.
280. So there are 280 ways to arrange the stocks and give them long term, short term and cell label as per the question. ठीक है, so पहले टोटल वेज निकाले, डिवाइड किया उनके लेबल के बेस से to get the final answer, right? So this is about labeling. The next two concepts that we have is with respect to permutation and combination. ठीक है, it works on similar parameters and the ultimate objective is to calculate the number of ways. Then what is the difference between permutation and combination? Any idea, anybody? We are going to use both the formulas to calculate the number of ways, but there is going to be something different, because of which in one time we'll be using combination, on the other hand sometimes we will be using permutation. So combination is used when order is not important. Okay, when there is no particular order that we have to follow, that this thing has to come first, this thing has to come later. When the order is not important, we use combination. When the order is important, we use permutation. Okay. Now, how does the formula function? NCR is basically the formula for combination and NPR is the formula for permutation. Now, how do we calculate NCR? NCR would be n factorial by n minus r factorial into r factorial, whereas NPR would be equal to n factorial by n minus r factorial. Okay. N standing for the total number and R standing for our target out of the total number. Okay. Let's see a couple of examples to understand when we will be using NCR, when we will be using NPR, and how to calculate it. Let's take this small example. How many ways can 3 stocks be sold from 8 stock portfolio? Okay, so the total number becomes n, which is 8, and r, which is our targeted thing. Like we want to see how many stocks can we, how many ways are there that we can sell 3 stocks. So r becomes 3. Okay, now we are just trying to find out the number of ways in which we can sell 3 stocks out of 8 stocks that we have. So I don't think there is any order. Order doesn't matter here. So I think NCR should work fine. So 8C3
56.
is what we target to. 56. Okay, so for that 8 factorial upon 8 minus 3 factorial into 3 factorial is what we have to calculate. If we calculate it, you're saying it's 56.
Yes.
Okay, please calculate everyone and verify whether you're getting 56 or not.
हम ये तो परमुटेशन है ना, कॉम्बिनेशन थोड़ी हुआ.
यही तो है ना कॉम्बिनेशन. कॉम्बिनेशन ये तो था ना, n factorial by n minus r factorial into r factorial is combination. Permutation is n factorial by n minus r factorial.
Okay.
ठीक है?
Yes, ma'am.
अभी अगर ये हमें कैलकुलेटर में डायरेक्टली करना है, 56 आया सबका, इसको कैलकुलेटर में करेंगे तो वेयर वी हैव माइनस, माइनस के ऊपर ही NPR लिखा है एंड प्लस के ऊपर NCR लिखा है. ठीक है. सो अगर हमारे को 8C3 निकालना है, सो विल फर्स्ट प्रेस 8, then second, then plus, then 3, and then equal to. You'll get 56. ठीक है. ओके. अभी अगर इसी क्वेश्चन में there was a twist that order was important. अगर ऑर्डर इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता तो हम 8p3 निकालते, which would have been 8 factorial by 8 minus 3 factorial. इसको कैलकुलेट करोगे कितना आता है?
336.
336. ओके. अभी if we calculate it using the formula, the calculator, then on the calculator minus के ऊपर NPR है, so we can have 8 second minus 3 equal to 336 आ जाएगा. ठीक है. सो लेबलिंग करनी है तो टोटल फैक्टोरियल अपॉन जितने लेबल्स है उनके रिस्पेक्टिव फैक्टोरियल कर देंगे. ठीक है. जस्ट नंबर ऑफ वेज टू डू समथिंग कैलकुलेट करना है. ऑर्डर इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है, कॉम्बिनेशन यूज करेंगे. ऑर्डर इंपॉर्टेंट है, परम्यूटेशन यूज करेंगे. गॉट द पॉइंट? Let's see if we can find more questions for this thing. Acha, there are 4 questions which are given as part of your PPT. Let's try to solve those questions. I don't know if they are specific to just permutation, combination, or the whole chapter. Okay, whatever it is, can you see my screen? Can you
Yes.
see the question? Yeah. So if 4 questions hai, theek hai? I'm giving you 5 minutes. Don't look at the solution, please. Just try to solve them and get your answers. Whatever ABC you get, just write it down in a notebook with respect to these 4 questions. You have 5 minutes to do that. Done, guys?
Yes.
Okay. So let's consider these questions. Pehle I'll share the answers. Okay. Then we'll see कि आपका कितना accuracy rate रहा. ठीक है. So first of all, let's have a look at the first question that says a manager will select 20 bonds out of his universe of 100 bonds to construct a portfolio. Which formula provides the number of possible portfolios? Permutation, multinomial, or combination formula?
Combination.
Combination. Why combination?
Combination.
You just need number of possibilities.
Yes, you
which
just
you
need the
can
number
decide.
of ways. No order.
Order
Right.
specific.
Order specific नहीं है. So simply आपका C हो जाता है. Okay. इसके बाद second देखते हैं. A firm will select 2 of 4 vice presidents to be added to the investment committee. How many different groups of 2 are possible? 2 of 4 vice presidents we need to add to our group.
Here there is
Okay,
order.
so-
So permutation का formula. OP2.
Permutation का formula you're saying?
4P2. Answer is B. Well,
फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आपको कैसे पता ऑर्डर इंपॉर्टेंट है यहाँ पे?
Because like we need different groups of two.
How is the order important? ऑर्डर स्पेसिफिक तो नहीं लग रहा क्वेश्चन मेरे को, तो थोड़ा सा बस आपसे यही तो पूछा गया है कि हाउ मेनी वेज आर देयर टू सेलेक्ट 2 out of 4 vice presidents in the investment committee. So I don't think order is
The
important.
order is not important, so it should be 2C, 4C2.
4C2
P.
होना चाहिए, right? If you
So
calculate
6 आ रहा है.
4C2, 6 आ जाना चाहिए, ठीक है? Absolutely. Answer should be A, 6. ठीक है, next देखते हैं. Next is from an approved list of 25 funds. A portfolio manager wants to rank 4 mutual funds from most recommended to least recommended. Now order is important. Which formula is most appropriate? Order has become important, so it should be
Permutation.
permutation, right?
Ma'am, but यहाँ पे out of the 25 funds, she wants like 4 mutual funds to have an order, and then
Yeah.
rest of the 21 mutual funds does not require order. So should it be multimodal, like a mix of permutation and combination?
No,
For the
no.
first 4, you have an
But
order,
we
and the
are
next.
concerned about the 4 mutual funds only.
Okay.
एक टारगेट तो होता ही है ना बीच में कि आउट ऑफ द टोटल लॉट वी आर फोकसिंग अपॉन दिस लॉट,
ठीक है.
तभी तो वो एन और आर अलग होगा. लास्ट देखते हैं. Somebody has joined a new firm and is selecting mutual funds in the firm's pension plan. If 10 mutual funds are available and she plans to select 4, how many different sets of mutual funds can she choose? सबसे पहले तो permutation होना होगा, combination.
Permutation.
Why permutation?
Because she just has to select 4 out of the existing 10.
हाँ तो वो तो होगा ही. We always have to select a few out of the
Combination.
total. Few out of the total तो हमेशा ही रहेगा.
Sorry. Yeah. मैंने combination ही किया
अगर
है.
हाँ, अगर यहाँ पे लिखा होता, अच्छा combination में किया. Yeah, so we just have to select
आ रहा है answer.
few out of the total, right? अभी order
And
उसमें भी important नहीं है. So 10C4 should be the answer. What is 10C4? If you calculate it,
A.
210.
210.
yeah, 210 A should be the answer. Understood everyone? ठीक है. So probability concepts is done. ठीक है. अभी let's see. So this one PDF of yours is complete, and let's see और क्या क्या है. अभी we have half an hour with us and we can start something new, but मुझे ना लगता है वो थोड़ा सा because gap आ जाएगा. ठीक है. अच्छा, before we start with something new, I want to define with respect to your practice also. ठीक है. Because as I keep saying it again and again, that we need 2 things for your success. One is your conceptual clarity and the second is your practice. If we are not working on any of the 2, we will not be able to succeed. ठीक है. तो आपकी प्रैक्टिस मैं भी मैप कर रही हूँ, जैसे कि आपने देखा है हर चैप्टर के बाद we are mapping your practice also, and nobody is going to leave the session. ठीक है. If you have some reason to do that, you have to let me know before leaving the session. Okay, cannot abruptly leave the session whenever you want to. Practice sessions have to be taken very seriously. We have practice for all the chapters we have done till now. Derivatives भी किया था, and आपका quants के भी अभी जितने chapters हुए हैं हमने practice किए हैं. ठीक है. Let me show you the sheet also that I'm maintaining. So derivatives के चैप्टर की हमने प्रैक्टिस की थी, हमने टीवीएम की भी प्रैक्टिस की थी, एंड दिस इज द रिकॉर्ड दैट आई हैव. ठीक है. So before I move forward with the next chapter, which I'm thinking if we get 10 minutes also, I want to start that chapter. ठीक है? So we will try to at least give that chapter a start today. And second thing that we are targeting is the practice of this chapter. And आप लोग बाकी के questions जो बच जाते हैं, do you guys make sure to practice them during the week? Who all make sure that they practice the questions, whatever concept we discussed? they
And
make
for derivatives, I did. Quants का since I missed 1.5 class पहले तो उसका नहीं हो पाया.
तो उसका भी
But
कर लो अब.
we will start
week
quants this week.
इस week get par with it. Okay. What about others? और कोई नहीं कर रहा?
किया है मैम. क्वांट्स का लास्ट वीक जो किया था, सो आउट ऑफ द करिकुलम पीछे जो 35-40 क्वेश्चंस थे वो सारे किए.
वेरी गुड. बाकी सब लोग
मैं भी डेरिवेटिव्स और
आपने
theorem.
ठीक है. वेरी गुड. व्हाट अबाउट यू शर्विल एंड चिन्मय, इफ आई एम राइट? आप नहीं कर रहे अभी?
हम करिकुलम को बैक क्वेश्चंस अटेम्प्ट तो किए थे.
एग्जांपल्स भी करो. एग्जांपल्स में भी बहुत वैरायटी है.
ठीक है मैम.
अभी
ठीक है.
श्वाइजर पे
examples
ऐड
भी
करना
करो.
पड़ेगा मैम.
हाँ, श्वेजर भी करो.
I
श्वेजर के
didn't practice श्वाइजर till now.
हम
वो
श्वेजर
भी
और
करो.
करिकुलम के प्रैक्टिस प्रॉब्लम्स अलग है क्या?
हाँ काफी
डिफरेंट होते हैं.
Okay.
डिफरेंट होते हैं.
डिफरेंट कोरिलेशन मैम.
श्वेजर से भी प्रैक्टिस करो, करिकुलम से भी प्रैक्टिस करो. ठीक है. कुछ क्वेश्चंस हम क्लास में कर लेते हैं, जो बच जाते हैं मेक श्योर आप वीक में प्रैक्टिस करो. और ट्यूसडे फ्राइडे को जो हमारा डाउट सेशन होता है, प्रैक्टिस करते हुए आई एम श्योर कुछ ना कुछ डाउट आएंगे. ठीक है. 2 क्वेश्चन में आते, 4 क्वेश्चन में आते, 6 क्वेश्चन में आते, जितने आते हैं. डोंट वरी अबाउट द नंबर ऑफ डाउट्स यू हैव. ठीक है. आई एम हियर टू क्लियर ऑल योर डाउट्स. आप लेके तो आओ. ठीक है. तो ट्यूसडे और फ्राइडे को जो हमारा डाउट सेशन होता है उसमें आप आओ. जो भी हम चैप्टर्स कर रहे हैं, मेरा सिंपल सा स्ट्रैटेजी आपके साथ रहेगा. वी डिस्कस ऑल द कॉन्सेप्ट्स एंड एज मेनी क्वेश्चंस एज आई कैन ड्यूरिंग द क्लास. बाकी जो क्वेश्चंस आपके बचेंगे, इट्स योर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी कि ड्यूरिंग द वीक इटसेल्फ आप उन चैप्टर्स से रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन सारे प्रैक्टिस कर लो. एंड ट्यूसडे फ्राइडे 2 विंडोज है आपके पास फॉर योर डाउट्स. आप आओ और जो भी आपने प्रैक्टिस किया है उसमें जो भी आपके कॉन्सेप्चुअल डाउट्स है, कॉन्सेप्ट रिलेटेड डाउट्स है, या कुछ क्वेश्चंस है जो आपसे सॉल्व नहीं हुए, ब्रिंग देम अप. आई विल डिस्कस ऑल योर डाउट्स. ओके. अगर आप इस स्ट्रेटेजी को कंसिस्टेंटली यूज करते हो एंड जो आपके मॉक्स हो रहे हैं वो भी आप कंसिस्टेंटली देते हो. ठीक है. वो बहुत अच्छे से डिजाइन किए हुए मॉक्स है जो कि आपको बहुत कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव प्रैक्टिस दे देगा. मतलब अगर आप ये स्ट्रैटेजी यूज कर रहे हो, कंसिस्टेंटली हमारे साथ प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हो, वी आर मेकिंग आवर सेल्फ अवेलेबल टू यू फॉर एवरीथिंग. चाहे आपके डाउट्स है, चाहे प्रैक्टिस है, चाहे कॉन्सेप्ट है, कुछ भी है, वी आर देयर फॉर यू. बट वो कमिटमेंट आपको भी तो शो करनी पड़ेगी ना. सो इफ यू गेट इन्वॉल्व विद अस एंड आप राइटफुली रिसोर्सेज को यूटिलाइज करते हो, टाइम को यूटिलाइज करते हो, देन रिजल्ट की प्रोबेबिलिटी आपकी बहुत हाई हो जाती है. वो पास वाली कैटेगरी है, जो प्रोबेबिलिटी है वो काफी हाई हो जाएगी. ठीक है ना? गेटिंग द पॉइंट एवरीवन? ठीक है. तो अभी एक काम करते हैं, लेट्स टेक 10 मिनट्स. 10 मिनट्स में लेट्स सी. अभी पहले करिकुलम ओपन कर लो, CFA इंस्टीट्यूट बुक्स. एवरीबॉडी क्विकली ओपन योर CFA इंस्टीट्यूट बुक्स. उसमें ये वाला चैप्टर निकालेंगे, प्रोबेबिलिटी कॉन्सेप्ट्स वाला चैप्टर. निकाला सबने? प्रैक्टिस प्रॉब्लम्स पे आ जाएगा उसकी टुवर्ड्स द एंड. जो प्रैक्टिस प्रॉब्लम्स होती हैं, क्विकली कम टू द प्रैक्टिस प्रॉब्लम्स एंड जस्ट कंफर्म वंस यू आर देयर. Are we there, guys? Open the curriculum, practice problems.
Yes, ma'am, opened.
Okay. So I hope everyone is ready with the questions. How many total questions do we have here with respect to probability concepts, the back questions of curriculum?
32.
32. How many do you think you
We
can?
have to open cons too, right?
35.
I don't know if it's cons 1 or 2. You have to open chapter probability concepts.
मैम मेरे बुक में 25 क्वेश्चंस है.
अच्छा, तो जो भी 25-30 क्वेश्चंस आपको दिख रहे हैं उसमें से कितने आपको लगता है आप 10 मिनट्स में कंप्लीट कर सकते हो? Can we target 10 questions in 10 minutes?
Yeah, can try.
You can try.
Okay. Okay, so let's see. 6-5 हो रहे हैं अभी. 10 minutes लेते हैं. Let's see how many questions you're able to complete in 10 minutes, starting from the first question, following the right sequence. अगर कोई आप question छोड़ते हो तो that will be counted among your total questions.
पहले कुछ क्वेश्चंस में एमसीक्यू बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस नहीं है वो.
वो छोड़ दो. जो फर्स्ट एमसीक्यू क्वेश्चन है वहां से स्टार्ट करो. Which would be which question? First MCQ question कौन सा है?
मैम नंबर 3 एमसीक्यू है पर उसके बाद में अगेन इट्स नॉन एमसीक्यू
gap.
क्वेश्चन. आफ्टर क्वेश्चन 7 इट्स कंटिन्यूअसली एमसीक्यू क्वेश्चन.
अच्छा, तो फॉलो द सीक्वेंस. थर्ड से स्टार्ट करो. अगर थर्ड एमसीक्यू है तो कोई भी बीच में सब्जेक्टिव आता है उसको छोड़ दो. ओके, जस्ट स्टार्ट फ्रॉम द बिगिनिंग एंड डू ओनली द एमसीक्यू बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस फॉर नाउ. So I've just started your time. You have 10 minutes. So I think the time's up. Right? So what I want you to do is quickly wind up. Just, look at the solutions and just try to get your accuracy rate. ठीक है? आपके जो आंसर्स करेक्ट है, please mark them as correct and calculate your accuracy rate. Let's say you attempted 10 question, out of which 7 were correct. तो 7 by 10 is 70%. ठीक है? तो इतना काम कर सकते हैं हम, अपनी accuracy rate निकाल सकते हैं. फटाफट से वेरीफाई करो अपने आंसर्स एंड एक्यूरेसी रेट निकाल दो क्विकली. ओके, सो आई वांट टू नो, हाँ, एक्यूरेसी रेट के साथ साथ अपने नंबर ऑफ क्वेश्चंस यू अटेम्प्टेड वो भी मेरे को बता दो. ठीक है? सो लेट मी सी, दिस इज योर Quants chapter 2, right? So Quants chapter 2, probability concepts, right? So time that you got was 10 minutes, right? So Nandini is already there as part of the list. Time was 10 minutes and number of questions were 11 and the accuracy was 66.67%. Next is Sarthak. Sarthak is also in the list. So another 10 minutes allocated. Questions attempted is 10. Accuracy is 80%. Okay. And Sharvil is also in the list. So Sharvil attempted 12 questions and the accuracy rate is 66%. Okay, so these are 3. What about others? Okay, Chinmay, again 10%, 6 questions attempted and 6 correct out of 11. So 11 attempted and accuracy is 54.55%. Okay. I think Shane has not provided the results yet. Shane, can you share your performance?
Yes, ma'am. Just
Are we ready, Shane? Waiting for you. So what is the percentage? Okay. So this is the result that we have for today's performance. Okay. So the questions that you all have attempted is fine as per the 10 minutes time frame that you had. So time management is fine. We need to improve this accuracy rate to at least मतलब उस लेवल पे लाना है कि सबका 80% प्लस आ रहा है. ठीक है. We want to bring the performance to the level where everyone is getting 80% plus, because that is the safe zone. I consider it as a safe zone. That if you are scoring above 80% and whatever questions you practice, then you're on the right track. ठीक है. तो अभी अगर आपके 60 आए हैं, 50 आए हैं, 70 आए हैं, आपको you have to practice it again. मैप करो फिर से सारे क्वेश्चन, पूरा चैप्टर अच्छे से रिवाइज करना, फिर उसके बाद फिर से अटेम्प्ट करना सारे क्वेश्चंस. अभी 10-11 की है, जो भी 20-30 क्वेश्चंस है, सारे अटेम्प्ट करो दोबारा से. मैप इट अगेन. आई विल आस्क फॉर योर एक्यूरेसी रेट इन द डाउट सेशन. ठीक है. डाउट सेशन में आपके डाउट्स भी आई एम गोइंग टू आस्क फॉर योर एक्यूरेसी रेट. ठीक है. इनके अलावा जो बाकी क्वेश्चंस है उनमें भी आप कैसा परफॉर्म कर रहे हो वो भी मैं यहीं पर मैप करूंगी एंड आई विल शेयर दिस फाइल विद यू, ताकि सब कुछ डॉक्यूमेंट हो. कौन कितनी प्रैक्टिस कर रहा है, कहाँ से कर रहा है, सब कुछ यहाँ पर हम डॉक्यूमेंट करेंगे. ठीक है. ताकि इम्प्रूवमेंट को हम मैप कर सके. राइट. सो अभी आपका क्या टारगेट है ड्यूरिंग द वीक का? यू हैव टू प्रैक्टिस एंड कंप्लीट व्हाटएवर वी हैव डन टिल नाउ, दैट इज डेरिवेटिव्स. अगर डेरिवेटिव नहीं किया तो कर लिया है, वेरी गुड. क्वांट्स करो. क्वांट्स के 2 चैप्टर्स हैं, उनके जितने भी क्वेश्चंस है श्वेजर से, करिकुलम से, जो भी आपके पास रिसोर्सेज है, सबसे प्रैक्टिस करो. ब्रिंग योर डाउट्स इन द डाउट सेशन. ठीक है. अभी फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल जो ये 10-12 क्वेश्चंस जो भी आपने अभी करे हैं, उनमें कोई भी क्वेश्चन है जो आप मेरे साथ डिस्कस करना चाहोगे?
I didn't understand that fifth question. The fourth.
Fifth question. Okay, let me open it. Just a minute.
It's not a multiple choice, but will be.
Acha. What else do we have apart from this fifth question? I'm opening it. Meanwhile, any other doubts also we have? Any
Fifth
particular
one
question
and
that you would like to discuss?
fifth.
Fifth तो कर ही रहे हैं, उसके अलावा और क्वेश्चन है जो आप डिस्कस करना चाहोगे?
Sixth.
Sixth. Okay. Just a minute. This is a second chapter, probability concepts. Okay, so first of all, fifth question and sixth question. Fifth and sixth, बाकी सब हो गए थे. Clear है बाकी सब सबको? Fifth question में क्या है? Yeah.
मैम 15-16 भी बता दीजिए.
ठीक है. So fifth देखते हैं. सबसे पहले तो क्या है? You have developed a set of criteria for evaluating distress credits. यही वाला question है? You have developed a set of criteria for evaluating distress credits. Is this the same question in your book?
No,
Shane?
no, ma'am.
Can you read the first line of the
Suppose the
question?
prospects for recovering
ठीक है,
principal for
ठीक है.
default bond.
That's fourth in my book. Suppose the prospect for recovering principals for defaulting bond issue depend on which of the two economic scenarios prevails. Scenario 1 has the probability of 0.75 and will result in recovery of 0.9 per $1 principal value with a probability 0.45, or in recovery of 0.8 per $1 principal value with a probability of 0.55. Scenario 2 has a probability of 0.25 and will result in recovery of 0.5 per $1 with a probability of 0.85 and a recovery of 0.4 per $1 with a probability of 0.15. Compute the probability of each of the
Kind of didn't understand the language.
language. What it's saying is,
क्या निकालना है?
let me just first explain you the language of the question. So where is अभी वो कहाँ गया white board? Okay. So what it is saying simply that there are two scenarios. ठीक है, one scenario, two scenario. The probability of one scenario is 0.75. Probability of second scenario is 0.25. ठीक है, and if scenario 1 happens, there can be two possibilities of recovery. One possibility is that we will be able to recover $0.9 per $1 principal value. That is, for every $1 we will be able to recover 0.9. That is 90% recover कर लेंगे हम. ठीक है, that is just as good as saying that we will be able to recover 90%. and इसकी भी probability दी हुई है, which is 0.45. ठीक है, और क्या दिया हुआ है? रिकवरी, दूसरी पॉसिबिलिटी क्या है? दैट वी आर एबल टू रिकवर 0.8 आउट ऑफ एवरी $1. दैट मीन्स 80% रिकवरी हो जाएगी. इस पॉसिबिलिटी क्या प्रोबेबिलिटी है? दैट इज 0.55. एंड अगर सिनेरियो 2 होता है जिसकी प्रोबेबिलिटी 25% है, अगेन there will be two possibilities. One possibility will be that we will be able to recover 0.5 per $1. That is 50% हम recover कर लेंगे. इसकी probability कितनी है? That's the probability 0.25 that we have.
नहीं 0.25 थोड़ी ना, 0.85 होगा ना.
Okay, 0.85 है, 0.85 लिख देते हैं. And the other thing that can happen is that we are able to recover 0.1 of every $1. That is 40% recover कर लेंगे. And इसकी probability कितनी है? That's 0.4.
0.15.
Sorry, 0.15. ठीक है, तो ये क्वेश्चन दिया हुआ है आपको, एंड अकॉर्डिंगली जो भी क्वेश्चंस फ्रेम्ड हो गए आगे, look into the questions, try them out. In case नहीं होते, come in the doubt session. ठीक है, but as far as the language of the question is concerned, this is what the question is saying. ठीक है ना? अच्छा, अभी ये फिफ्थ के अलावा और कौन से डाउट थे हमारे? 6th and 15th and 16th, राइट? ये 3 डाउट्स बोले थे आपने. Can we discuss these doubts on Tuesday? Huh? Because I have another session also अभी back to back होते हैं. तो अभी डाउट्स पर्सपेक्टिव से let's connect again on Tuesday. ये वाले डाउट्स भी आप पूछ लेना मेरे से, एंड इसके अलावा आप जो बाकी प्रैक्टिस करते हो उनसे रिलेटेड भी डाउट्स मेरे से एक साथ पूछ लेना ट्यूसडे. ठीक है, कैन वी डू दैट विश? या ओके, ठीक है। अभी नेक्स्ट चैप्टर के लिए तो अपने को टाइम नहीं मिला आज, फाइन, we'll start with the next chapter on Saturday then, ठीक है। नेक्स्ट वीक करते हैं नया चैप्टर, प्रैक्टिस करते रहना एंड डू कम इन द डाउट सेशंस टू डिस्कस all the doubts, okay? Chalo, see you guys then, okay?
Thank you,
All
ma'am.
right,
Thank you,
thank
ma'am.
Thank you,
you,
ma'am.
bye bye, take care, thank you.